So see something's wrong.
Let's check this.
All right, we'll get started, everyone. Okay. Welcome to the February 26th, 2026 VAR small meeting. My name is Lindsay Van Flamberg. I'll be your chairwoman tonight. Board members present this evening are Daryl Cobb, Becky Finno, Bill Turner, and Fillmore Wilson. City staff present this evening are Frankie Pinto, VARF administrator, and Travis Scally, senior preservation planner. The order of tonight's meeting will be as follows. For each application, we'll hear an introduction overview from city staff for the benefit of the board and the public. This will be followed by the applicant's presentation. If you're the applicant, please approach the podium and state your name first and last for the record. And anyone speaking on behalf of the applicant, so owners, designers, consultants, should speak during the applicant presentation versus during public comment. And you will have a 10-minute period of time to present your project. By ordinance, the board can ask questions of the applicant at any time. By custom, we do so on the heels of the applicant's presentation. This will be followed by public comment. Any written public comment that was timely submitted has been provided to the board in advance of the meeting for review. If you are speaking as a member of the public, please raise your hand. I'll recognize you. Approach the podium, state your name first and last for the record, and your address if you're a neighbor nearby. Once we've heard from the public, we'll hear from city staff. They'll provide their comments and recommendations. And once we've heard from the public and city staff, the applicant will have a 5-minute period of time to clarify or respond to anything raised during public comment or in the city staff comments and recommendations. Once we've heard from the applicant, public comment and the applicant's presentation will be closed. We'll move into board discussion and a vote on each application. Results will be posted online at the city's website. There have been no withdrawals or deferrals this evening. Please turn off your cell phones and please remember that the purview of this board is architecture only. So anything related to zoning, livability, stormwater is not within the purview of this board and should not be voiced here. All right, agenda item A1 is review of the minutes from the February 12th, 2026 meeting. I make a motion to approve with the edits I circulated to the board and city staff this afternoon. Do I have a second?
A second.
Thank you, Becky. I put the motion to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Hearing none opposed, the motion passes unanimously. Agenda item B1 is 35 Noonan Street. Frankie, if you'll give us an introduction overview of the project, please.
Yes, ma'am. 35 Newton Street is in West Side, Council District 6. It is a category 4 in the architecture inventory circa 1935 in the historic materials demolition district. They're requesting an after the fact approval for demolition and approval for partial demolition of exterior elements visible from public right of way. This is the property's location on Newton Street. These are the photos from our enforcement officer site visit back in January. I know everybody was there this morning, but just in case we had board members not making it, I wanted there to be some photos in the presentation. And I will turn it over to the applicant.
It should be on.
Okay.
Testing.
Yes.
Okay.
My name is Mike Loveday. I'm representing the applicant. What we want to do is refer back to A6 on the architectural plans. And it'll bring everything back to normal. We want to keep the fireplaces. We're going to keep the siding. The copy y'all have is A6-1, which has revisions, which says revisions aren't correct. We resubmitted new revisions, but y'all have to go off of what was originally submitted. But it's basically A6 is your submittal of what we're doing, and everything's going back to original.
Sir, do you have the clicker that you can change
Oh, okay.
to the right arrow?
A6. So that's the as-built originally drawn. That's what we're going back with. A6-1 was the one that y'all have reviewed, but we're not going back with that. We can't even put the windows on the left-hand side like that because of the distance from the house next door. So we're going back with A6, all original, keeping the chimneys. Everything stays the same. It's going to be wood windows. The windows are termite damaged and rotted, so they were disposed of before I got on the job. So I think that's it.
Are there any questions for the applicant? Do you have anything? Okay. Thank you. Do we have anyone speaking from the public?
Hi, my name's Kevin. I live up in Hampton Park Terrace on President Street, and really, I'm not totally sure. I guess I have anything to say. As I was out there with you all this morning, and I had a chance to speak with Mike, and I appreciate that. I was just totally unclear on what the status of this was and how it was going to move forward, since the plans don't show the details of the windows and that sort of thing. And I was just concerned that they would go back with some sort of like a vinyl window or 1/1 windows or something like that, that would not be appropriate. But if, further plans, I guess, are submitted for review, it'd be nice to see. So I'm not 100% sure exactly how to fall on that, but concerned about it.
Pete Utilities from Charleston Foundation. HCF appreciated the opportunity to visit the site this morning. However, we find that the submission lacks sufficient detail. Additional supporting documentation is necessary to clearly understand the full scope of work already completed and proposed to be completed. HCF is opposed to after the fact approval and cannot support this application as submitted. Thank you.
Is there anyone else speaking from the public? Frankie, if you'll give us any staff comments and recommendations, please.
Staff mostly had some observations. We didn't have any historic context with the original submittal, so we felt it was, but we still felt it was important to bring this submittal before the board so we can move forward on this project. There were some inconsistencies and incorrect drawings. First of all, there should be 2 windows on the existing front elevation. Front door has side lights and transoms similar to those that were on 63 Noonan. Front door metal railing, front porch metal railing is not shown on drawings. Front door porch column detail and fascia are not shown. Double hung window on east elevation should be centered between the diamond windows. The new, he said he wasn't doing the new build drawing, so I will strike observations, agree. And then the chimneys were not being shown, so we had a concern about that. Staff recommendation was denial of after the fact demolition and any proposed demolition, and the applicant to submit revised plans to restore within 30 business days.
Thank you, Frankie. Did you want to respond to or clarify anything raised in the public comment or the staff comments?
On the new plans, S1, not .1, but S6, it shows the fireplaces are in place. It shows the windows if you.
Are you referring to the new plans?
Yeah,
We did not.
no, I'm not looking for the new plans. I wanted to answer his question about the wood windows. Because we're gonna do wood windows, and the actual quote for those should be right there, actually. And that's gonna be wood windows, and they're gonna have to be glazed and then puttied and all that stuff back together. So it's gonna be all wood windows, no vinyl windows. Don't want to answer that. Okay.
All right, public comment of the applicant's presentation is now closed. We'll move into board discussion and a vote. Quite frankly, this is one sort of simple to me, and basically the applicant on site said he wanted to put everything back the way that it was. So I think this is a denial of the after the fact, and that will allow the applicant to move along with the city.
I think it's 2 parts to the middle one is after the fact, and the other is approval of the additional demolition. Found the drawings to be confusing.
Yeah.
And lack detail. I think the drawings that I was able to review had mistakes in them, which weren't shown on the proposed, and the drawings for the rear stoop seemed confusing. It was seemed enclosed. The drawings, some of the elevations were mislabeled, so I would maybe defer that for appropriate drawings.
I agree. If it's going back the way it was, it's just, we need appropriate drawings. These are really, really awful drawings. They're very incomplete. Frankie, after the appropriate drawings are submitted, is that something staff is comfortable with reviewing?
Yes,
Would
sir.
you like to send it back to the board?
We would be comfortable reviewing it as staff.
Okay.
Will they be, I know we don't have jurisdiction over what goes back, will they be showing staff the appropriate details for?
If you deny demolition after the fact, they would have to put things back as was, which means they would have to show us that they are restoring it. Otherwise, they would still need after the fact approval for demo. So we would be able to review all of the details.
I would make a motion for denial after the fact. For addition to work with staff to develop appropriate drawings that accurately depict the structure, return to its original form.
You want to also cover the second part, which is denial of the proposed demolition? Because I think you were right to point out it. Okay. So,
Denial of after the fact. Denial of proposed demolition. And a more comment. To work with staff to produce drawings that accurately depict the structure returned to its original form.
and then the staff recommendation was within 30 business days. So, okay. All right, we have a motion on the floor for denial of after the fact demolition and the proposed demolition with the board condition that the applicant needs to submit revised plans showing the original configuration within 30 business days. Do I have a second to Fillmore's motion?
I'll second.
Thank you, Bill. The motion to vote. Becky,
Yay, in favor.
Daryl,
Yeah, in favor.
Fillmore,
Yeah, in favor.
Bill.
Yeah, in favor.
The chair votes to the majority and the motion passed unanimously. Thank you. Okay, agenda item 2 for South Battery Street. Frankie, if you'll give us an introduction overview of the project, please.
Just so I can clarify for the applicant, sir, Luke, if you will come to the permit center to meet with us, we'll work with you there and get everything.
Okay. All right, thank you. Thank you.
And Mr. You did need a second on that. I apologize. I was typing.
Bill.
For South Battery, is in Charlestown, Council District 8. It is a category 2 in the architecture inventory, circa 1895 in the Old Historic District. Requesting exceptional approval for restoration of parapet balustrade of architectural urethane. This is the property's location on South Battery. And I will turn it over to the applicant.
Good evening. Thank you all for joining us at the site meeting this morning to look at the mock-up. Sure appreciate it. My name is Eddie Fava with the E-Fava Architects and representing Stephen and Mary Hannon, the owners of 4 South Battery. And my office team is here, Joel Tramp, Michael Strodel, and Jared Raskin, who've been working on it and helped with getting this presentation together. So, sorry, going on the direction. We had the property is located on the corner of Church and South Battery. It's a very prominent location, a very prominent house that I'm sure everybody's familiar with. And had the pleasure of working with the Hammonds when they first purchased it in 2012, when it was in a state of complete disrepair and kind of barely lived in at the time. And during that time, one of the thoughts was at what point could we replace the parapet balustrade, which was something that Mr. Hammond wanted to do, but based on scope of the project as it was at that time was not something that was feasible. It has always been something he wanted to do. We revisited it years and years since, and presently have done so and landed with a material that we feel like solves the problem here and allows the house to be returned to its former glory. So to keep my time tight, I'm just going to read this if y'all don't mind, but today's conversation is about returning a missing piece of the parapet's cornet. We feel it's the architectural punctuation of the property that terminates the facade. And what we feel makes this moment different from years past is that material technologies evolved since then. Even the exotic tropical hardwoods are limited in achieving durability in Charleston's harsh coastal climate. The sun and the coastal salt there that we all know, the sun, even the termites eat the wood, but the sustainable and resilient materials we presented in the mock-up, we feel this time can faithfully reproduce historic profiles while performing much better over time. especially in locations where the material is not easily accessible and located at a significant distance from the public right of way, which we think is key. Because we do recognize that there need to be some guidelines as this develops, so it doesn't turn into something where balustrades everywhere else, or piazzas or columns could have this material. But there certainly seems like there is an opportunity for certain structures, prominent or otherwise, where it's very difficult to maintain, that to be able to return it to more of the original architectural integrity, even with the sustainable material such as this, would be better than not doing it at all, which is something Mr. Hammond would like to do. So again, the existing home, again, had been modified over the years. Much of the corbels and the cornice elements are no longer there, just at the portico they remain. That's the existing condition. Proposed would be here. As we said today on site, I think we had put the upper pedestal where the cupola formerly was located, which I'll show you real quickly again in the photographs, as with a balustrade around it too. But to be honest, I don't think it's something we'd approve of. I mean, we would proceed with this time because I think it looks a little awkward without the cupola behind it, but put it up there for reference for y'all's approval. So submission is for your review and approval of what's being presented with the parapet balustrade around the perimeter of the building. But really do feel like it completes it. As demonstrated by the drawings, we were very pleased with the mock-up. Like I said, it was a long time coming, and over the years we've investigated other materials, looked at things, and nothing seemed like it was gonna hit the mark, but this one certainly did, and makes a huge statement and returns, I think, the house to its original grandeur. From the rear section, which again is not evident in this elevation because part of that was done even 2012, but there are some mechanical units I think we showed everybody on site today from a photograph, which you wouldn't even guess they were visible, but as I was walking to the site meeting this morning from Church Street, you could see them. They're on the right side above the pop-up above the ballroom on the far right side, and this also would hide that. So again, it's something we're quite excited about, and I think the material serves the purpose. We don't feel like it would be precedent setting, but do think it would be an important gesture for this property and one that the Hammonds would very much like to do. As we walked around town, there's several that we know, some we're showing here, some we are not, that have done so already. And whether, you know, I don't know what has been to approvals or not, I can't say that necessarily, but all of them have been there for a while. And one of the more notable ones is 20 South Battery, just down the street, that has the same. And in reviewing that and chatting with both Preservation and Historic Charleston, some of the stipulations that Preservation Society had actually laid out of why this was at least acceptable to them in this case was laid out with the stipulations there, which I'm sorry, I'll just read real quickly, but basically distance from the right of way is significant. The indiscernibility of the substitute material from the pedestrian level, the long-term maintenance in a highly exposed location of the elements, reduced load on the historic roof, and no historic material was altered. So looking at that guidance, we wanted to make sure that what we would do here would do the same and feel like it does. There are others in the area, the Pink House that have elements of sustainable or materials other than wood on it. But as I said, the one that we felt were most prominent and recognizable and locations that I think that, you know, served it well were this and some of the others along East Bay and South Battery. So would very much like y'all's approval to move forward with this. It's something Mr. Hammond would like to do and has wanted to do since he had the property in 2012. Again, thank you to Historic Charleston Preservation Society, both of whom we've chatted with and do not have objection to this. But again, if anybody has any questions, happy to answer, excuse me.
I got one.
Sure.
You mentioned on site, I believe they could make a mold for the baluster that's kind of in keeping with what was originally there. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you for reminding me. So the baluster that's in the original one profile was, sorry, I'll go to our drawing, is gonna pass it to him. There we go. Sorry. Is best we can discern from the photograph more like this. The one that in the mock-up is slightly different, but it was a stock profile that's very similar. It doesn't have the chamfered edges, this proportion's a little different.
Mhm.
But it was one that we could get without spending an exorbitant sum, just to try to check the boxes with all the other qualifications. But it would be something that would be our intent, because the price for the mold would allow us to reproduce, you know, the whole perimeter of the building in a way we just weren't able to justify for just the mock-up.
One question.
Yeah.
In your drawing, it's a little hard to tell from the photographs, but it looks like the original rail. That the bottom of the balusters or the rail set virtually on top of the curb.
Right.
And I noticed in your drawing, it's got the traditional space there. Is your intent then to reproduce as closely as possible what you can discern from the original historical evidence?
Yes, but not to the level where I would say we're doing like a museum quality reproduction, to be honest, Mr. Wilson, because I think from waterproofing and all those other standpoints, that may not have been the right way to go. It might have looked nice, but I imagine over time, that's why the thing fell off, because it rotted. So as it's so indiscernible, we think from the view that it would be presented to the street or otherwise, we felt like it was better to have the space underneath that, albeit a sliver, just to allow the breathing room and not the material, although it's, you know, architectural polyurethane type material, but still felt like it'd be better not to trap anything under that. So yes, sir.
I have a question on the detail. So on the top rail, on the A301, it looked like the top rail wasn't aligning. I wondered what the logic was there. Looks like it is in the photograph.
Correct. You know, the other balustrades on the house land in different locations. So we're perfectly open to doing either. Like I said, discerning from the photograph has kind of been a little bit hard to say exactly where things sat. But Ms. Fino, happy to place it. The other thing that the mock-up company, the more detail we got into with where things would sit, hate to say it, I know cost is not a factor, but for at least for this element, it started to tweak the cost. So we were like, well, if we at least get something up there that's kind of 85% accurate, we can guarantee that we'd go the rest of the route for y'all's any suggestions if we could proceed.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Do we have anyone speaking from the public? Frankie, you could give us any staff comments and recommendations, please.
We've discussed was provided for previous board motion. This is from the VAR policy statements. I've just sort of quoted what we mentioned last time. Historical character of property should be retained and preserved. Removal of distinct materials or alterations of features, spacing, spatial relationship that characterize property may negatively impact historic character. It should be avoided. Charleston has a tradition of expert craftsmanship, even in its simple structures. Examples of craftsmanship such as distinctive materials, architectural features, finishes, and construction techniques should be protected. Additions or exterior alterations to historic property should be sympathetic to historic materials, features, and spatial relationships that characterize the property. New work should be compatible with historic materials, features, etc. I'll skip down a little. To respect the authenticity of the historic structure and its context and setting, new alterations or additions should be clearly discernible. Additions, I'll skip to the end of that one. And I will add, of the two main precedents that were used in the presentation, I did research them to see if they had been approved. 29 Broad Street was reviewed by the board and approved for repairs to match the existing. It made no mention of a synthetic material. And 20 South Battery was approved by the board for a wood balustrade. And they did not get a permit for the work, so no other material has been approved. Our recommendation is still denial of the material.
Thank you, Frankie. Eddie, did you want to respond to or clarify anything raised in the staff comments?
Yes, I understand the history of where that's come from, but again, just respectfully disagree, because I do think that there are certain cases where something like this is appropriate. This would be one of them. I think the house is more attractive with it than without it, and they won't do it with wood because it'll be a permanent nightmare for maintenance. And much as we've changed schools of thought with raising buildings, the policy statement for years was don't raise them, don't raise them, don't raise them, and flooding and all of that, and then have learned to be able to work with that and let that still go to review board, and it's still a case by case basis. I feel like this is one of those, and respect the board's staff's recommendation, but also respectfully disagree. I think it would be nice to be able to do that to this house. Thank you.
All right, public comment, the applicant's presentation is now closed. Moving into board discussion.
Allow some synthetic materials along Murray Boulevard and along East Bay as well. One that comes to mind is right around the corner, it's one that Glenn Keys worked on, that they had some press tin detailing on the windows, and we allowed a synthetic material because they were rusting through because of salt corrosion from salt air. We've allowed some clad windows on a couple of houses on Murray Boulevard as well. So there is a little bit of a precedent here. It does concern me a little bit that this is a category 2 building. We're introducing a synthetic material. However, you know, it is pretty far up there. I mean, I could not stand out there and tell you that it's not wood. The house definitely looks better with it. Glad that there's an owner that wants to spend the money on something like this. So I think I'm comfortable with this.
I would just to be on the record, the house around the corner, Glenn wanted to replace that. I think the only no vote on that, and for a reason is that was very visible. It was much closer to street level, and those it is not certainly not impossible, and only a little bit difficult to replace those Victorian ornamental metal features either in kind or repaired. And so that's some, but I do view, to your point, I do view this as somewhat different from that. And while ideally I would say that balustrade should be, by our guidelines, should be wood, I am somewhat sympathetic to the fact that it is significant for the public view, but it is not really imposing that view on the street level. It is way up in the air. So I'm a little more sympathetic to the idea of a synthetic material. What I am not in favor of is the mock-up. I would not support or approve the mock-up because the mock-up does not duplicate the original balustrade. I think I could support a custom synthetic balustrade that exactly matched the original. I'm also open to a few modifications in construction details to make it more durable. But I think those need to be really carefully considered. And I would think that any motion that I would support would have to have a board condition that the new balustrade match the existing exactly, or as close as could be determined by historic research. And that the applicant should provide samples or drawings that accurately depict the recreation of the balcony to staff. I don't think it needs to necessarily come forward because I do not think that the drawings that we're looking at here now, that they may not represent that accurately. So I think the drawings would have to be submitted that represent the original accurately, drawings or samples. I think that would have to be an important condition, but I am open to synthetic material because of, I understand the maintenance difficulties and it is pretty far up.
Yeah. Agreement with that.
I think if it were existing now and it were in wood and they wanted to go back and replace it with a synthetic material, I would feel differently. But it's been gone, been missing for so many years. I think there's a little leeway here. But I agree with you, it needs to, as much as possible, replicate what was original or what's the point.
And I think that needs to be accurately documented in drawings or samples.
One more, do you want to make a motion?
Would make a motion for approval. Placement of the balustrade.
Would it be material change? Because it's not.
Yeah, with material
right?
change, okay, or restoring, duplicate. Make a motion for approval of duplicating the balustrade with synthetic material. The board condition that the mock-up is not approved. That accurate drawings showing all of the details of the synthetic balustrade be submitted to staff for approval. And that those drawings duplicate the original historic balustrade.
All right, we have a motion on the floor for approval of duplicating the balustrade with synthetic material. The board condition that the mock-up is not approved and that accurate drawing showing all details of synthetic balustrade be submitted to staff for approval, and that the duplication, and that they duplicate the original.
That the drawings duplicate the original.
Yeah, duplicate the original balustrade. Okay. The original historic balustrade. Let's see what I wrote. Do I have a second to Fillmore's motion?
Second.
Thank you, Becky. I'll put the motion to the vote. Bill,
Yay in favor.
Daryl,
You in favor?
Fillmore,
In favor.
Becky.
Yay in favor.
Chair votes the majority and the motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Can I just ask a quick question? Do that goes to staff?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, agenda item 3, one please to be Logan. You can give us an introduction, overview of the project, please.
One place to Logan Street is in Charleston Village, Council Gate. It was a category 3, circa 1791 in the old historic building. Requesting preliminary approval for proposed renovation and addition. Here is the property's location on Logan Street. And I will turn it over to the applicant.
Me again, but I'm not gonna let you, or put myself in the position of you having to hear me talk about this. I'm gonna ask Joel to speak to it, but we're here representing, Charleston Day Schools. Y'all have seen this application, 2 or 3 times presently, and we've been pleased to enjoy the support of the Historic Charleston Foundation, Preservation Society, all of the neighbors, and the opportunity to work on this incredible building and the support from the Charleston Day School staff. The head of school, John Meredith, is here as well, who's been an incredible support of the project, and I'll let Joel speak to you a little bit about it, that address the changes that were requested at the last meeting.
Thank you very much. My name is Joel Trantham with EDK Architects, and I appreciate the time to address the board today. And then this is just basically a slide that reiterates everything that Mr. David just stated, support that we've received throughout the project, and we appreciate the continued dialogue for preservation organizations, community, and all the shareholders in the project who have been in support of this application as we've moved through the process. To kind of fill in where we left off, the prior motion was for conceptual approval of the height, scale, mass, and architectural direction with 2 board conditions. That the very rear addition incorporate a plane change in both the roof and the north wall, and to allow the historic rear corner to read as such. So we will present in the documents how we've addressed those conditions and how we've developed this project and focused on the details that will further kind of reinforce how this project is in alignment with both city design principles and the architectural guidelines of the Secretary of the Interior for standard rehabilitations. I'm going to shoot through a lot of these beginning slides. We're required to provide a significant amount of documentation, and I would not want to take up a ton of your time going through every single page. But I will move to the ones that are more important. Happy to answer any questions about what we're moving through. First slide is, again, I think important that we presenting a residential scale street presence back to the street. So the front house, the primary element is being restored. And then the two elements that we're talking about are behind that and the piazza that will be rebuilt to the rear of the property. And you can see where we're at preliminary. So what we'll have in our drawings are an existing, what we review the conceptual, and then what we review the preliminary. And as those move forward, they're better noted in the elevations, but I can point out to the rear corner, we then set the rearmost addition to allow the historic corner to be proposed, to be exposed, and adjusted the roof form, which we'll see in elevation, that allows it to read and move to the roof. The second thing that we've done too is extended the parapet wall the entire way through to cut the lower roof from one side to the other. And you can see the differentiation in the roof forms as they move from the existing masses to our rear addition now. So from the front street, this was existing to preliminary, and then conceptual to preliminary. You can see that actually none of this is visible from the front facade, that we've scaled all of the addition and elements to be behind the main mass of the house, still respecting that and to be subordinate. If we look at the rear, this is existing to where we are at preliminary, and then sorry, the next slide, which I think will, show better. So here we have what we presented at conceptual to where we are now at preliminary. You can see the lowering of the roof form at the rear, the breaking at the parapet wall, the differentiation between the two roofs that are here. The eave runs across, and our side addition, which is located at behind the main mass and behind the parapet, not visible from the front right away, is lower than that. That allows the eave and the gutter to run over that, and then further sets down from that. We've adjusted the elevation of this to read as a kind of more ordered rhythm that emphasizes the verticality of this addition with predominant vertical elements and secondary horizontal elements, which is in keeping in line with the city's guidance on glazing and fenestration. The rear, this is where we are currently. We did introduce, we had gutters that might have been red on the side. Those have been relocated to the least visible facade, incorporated at the rear, and we've used that element to set off where the doors are. And then at the rear, we've incorporated a little bit of glazing to bring some light in and also differentiate the addition from where the original parapet wall was. Again, where the most form is visible is at the north side, and the form is still able to be read on that side, and our addition insets on the corner. So you can see that line from where we were before, where we are currently. And then we've also provided additional details for both the exterior walls at the rebuilt elements facing the south side and at the addition. We're currently proposing a Marvin Wood Ultimate door and window assembly with historic profile mutton that would read. It separates the doors and the windows at the rear additions from those at the historic house, which are the most, but they're also compatible in terms of their profile. And have a panel below with a kind of 6-light door above in an ordered rhythm. And then we've provided details for the side addition facing the south. This shows the subordinate roof form. It shows how we come in underneath the eave of the existing or the rebuilt mass that will be there. And it also shows a reveal condition where this material will offset from the stucco so that it creates an additional detail differentiating that mass and keeping in line with our bedrock. So I'm happy to answer any questions as we move forward. But again, I would like to state that our approach is grounded in the city's preservation principles and the Secretary of the Interior standards. Preserving the main historic mass and retaining the legibility of the carriage house developmental pattern and differentiating new work so it's compatible and honest but subordinate. The proposed rehabilitations allow the building to remain an active educational institution, continuing its historic role of serving Charleston while ensuring code compliance, accessibility, and long-term stewardship. We believe this proposal achieves a balance of preservation, functionality, and contextual appropriateness, which is what the BAR seeks to achieve. I'd also invite Mr. Meredith, if you have any words that you'd like to say or.
Not much to add other than to thank eFavor for their work and to thank the BAR for considering this in the past. We're just hoping that if this meets approval, we can get to work on it because we have a school calendar year. And I know we're supposed to talk about architectural features in this meeting. That's something that we're considering. We want to get this in use in time that meets the school calendar. And we're hoping that we can move forward with this. And we're excited for the adjustments that eFavor made on our behalf. Thank you.
Are there any questions for the applicant?
I have one. The structure on the glass enclosure what is that? Is it like a 2-inch parallelism in between the glass on the?
No, it's actually not. We've worked with the provider that there's actually no horizontal structure between the two units.
The vertical structure?
Oh, the vertical is, yes, sir. It's a 2-inch structural member, and then it is a factory cap that goes over that so that all the finishes of the fenestration and the capping enclosures around all sides of that structure will be the same finish.
A capping enclosure, that means it's wrapped or something?
Yes, sir. From one unit to the other,
Yeah.
there's a mold cap that goes over
Yeah, I
that.
got it.
That allows it to bridge the unit. And then the two vertical units are factory mold. Well, they're produced in the factory field mold on site, but there's no structure in between those. So they're allowed to read as a singular assembly.
I got it. Thank you.
Any other questions? Do we have anyone speaking for help? Frank, you can give the city staff comments.
Observation, that's also sort of there was a note talking about calling up per detail or architect approved equivalent system. We would just ask that a specific product be called out before final, and that it indicate any changes be approved by staff. I think people not getting changes approved within the permit, and we want to make sure that doesn't happen to you guys. So staff is recommending a preliminary approval with any board and staff conditions and a final review by staff.
Thank you, Frankie. Did you want to clarify or respond to them?
No, ma'am. We appreciate the comments. Thank you.
All right, public comment and the applicant's presentation is now closed. Board discussion or a vote.
I think most of our comments centered around the rear addition, and I think those have been addressed.
I'm always a little disconcerted when I see a preliminary application that doesn't have any dimensions, like it's kind of occurring throughout the meeting, but I mean, I think the relationships are shown. And I just think maybe staff could be a little address the size and scale of the relationships as they review the final.
I like the last submittal and I really like this submittal. I think it's a little more cleaner.
Yeah.
I think it's beautiful elevation. So I personally have no comments.
I really like the changes.
Yeah. Agree.
Sounds like we have some consensus, or did you?
I appreciate that the roof line of the rearmost addition has been lowered and that the corners, the back wall's been pulled in to preserve the corner. However, I'm still concerned about the large glass portion and to our guidelines, new work should be compatible with the historic materials, features, and portion massing to protect the integrity of the property and its setting. I think certainly scale and mass of this are appropriate. I am struggling with materials and architectural direction of the large glass. But I appreciate everything else about
Daryl, do you want to make a motion?
We may have a consensus without Fillmore. I would make a motion to approve it as submitted with staff comments.
So you made a motion for preliminary approval of board and staff conditions and final review by staff.
Yes.
Do I have a second to Daryl's motion?
A second.
Okay, the motion to vote. Fillmore,
it. Nay opposed.
Bill,
Yeah, in favor.
Daryl,
Yeah, in favor.
second.
Yeah, in favor.
There the majority and the motion passes for 4 and 1 against.
Thank you. Have a good day. Thank you.
Agenda item 4 is 66 Cypress Street. And Frankie, if you'll give an introduction to the project, please.
'66 Cypress Street is in North Central Council District 4. It is a category 4 in the architecture inventory survey 1888 and the historic materials demolition purview. They are requesting an amendment to a previous demolition approval. This is the property's location on Cypress. And I will turn it over to the applicant.
Good evening, I'm Ross Ritchie with Loyal Architects here on behalf of me and Joe Gallery, who's lived in 66 Cypress for the last 6 years and a young family and growing family. And we're just here to kind of revisit one board comment or condition that we did get to fully discuss last time. And let's see. Good. Your elevation. The comments that we had last time, or with the conditions, were kind of the brick front piers, columns that will remain, which we are keeping. And where we pulled off the demo off the cornice on the rear left side, and then we've already have the approval for the windows and other items in the roof portion, but it's just the rear rake trim that we're requesting a second look to see if we can remove that piece. And we did kind of identify that the bed mold was installed where the crown should be, and the crown was installed where the bed mold should be on the rear elevation. But just another item to note that we received 11 letters of support, as well as the neighborhood association full approval our submittal in the design. We also had a historic study done showing kind of our concern and appreciation for the history of the structure and wanting to keep its kind of elements intact and correct a lot of the kind of the wrongs that have happened over time. And really, we want to keep the streetscape kind of, especially the form. It's all kind of this petite form that we want to keep here, especially on the street. And again, this house is the smallest on the block by I think the average square footage of the block is 700 more than what this house is. So it's substantially smaller, and it's the only one-story house on that side of the street. And they're just looking to be able to grow their family and have just a little more space and stay in the neighborhood. And they've been part of that community for the last 6 years, and they want to remain. Yeah, they want to remain, and they've come to us kind of trying to figure out a thoughtful way to add on and keep them in their home, and restore a lot of the house to, especially windows and doors that need to be addressed. The existing siding, we're cleaning the asbestos, or at least the profile. So we're doing a lot of things that we want to keep and restore, and are sensitive to the existing structure as it is. think that's gonna all our. Thank you.
Any questions for the applicant? All right, thank you. Do we have anyone speaking? Frank, you can give us any staff comments and recommendations, please.
We just have that the observation that it's asking a portion. The request is asking for demolition for a portion of the eave that was previously part of the board motion. So staff can't make a recommendation. That would be contrary to the previous board motion.
Thank you, Frankie. Mr. Ritchie, did you want to respond to anything in the staff recommendation?
No, if there's any questions about it,
Thank you. All right, public comment and the applicant's presentation is now closed. We'll move into board discussion and a vote.
So is it on the back of the house? It's the kind of the rake that Eve, the board had the problem with, not tucking in underneath it, I guess.
Yeah.
Which is something we normally require.
Frankie, can you, these all run together, what was the visibility of the back of this? Do you remember?
Just remembering the column at the front, we spent so much time at.
I don't remember the visibility of that portion. I think that this was just part of our standard conditions for keeping staying away from the ridge and retaining.
I'm looking at A0006 and looks like you would have visibility from South East somewhat. I don't think you would really see it from Peachtree since the houses are so close.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, it's this corner here. And I'm on this side, so. I'm just concerned here because as a rule, we generally require retention. Eaves at the corner.
Been pretty consistent with that.
Yeah, that's my concern is if we'll allow it here. We will be inconsistent with prior decisions where we, as a general rule, required retention of the eaves.
I think at a minimum, the eve return needs to be fully preserved. If we did allow the second eve to come out, I think that whatever's happening back there, be it an addition, whatever, should clear that eve.
So it looks like he's preserving half of it, right?
Right. It's a fairly prominent feature of the house. It occurs on all four corners.
And I think that's where it goes back to visibility.
Right.
If you were just seeing it from the front, you'd want to see just, you'd need to see just the corner, but if you're seeing it, the whole rear elevation, it really changes the equation.
Back to the old.
These are tough when we don't get to see what's going back. Consider that.
So. And we have pretty consistently preserved ridges, cables, and
When someone has wanted to go an addition on on the back of a house, we've always required a tuck underneath the eave when they want to go addition. On top of the house, we've always required them to bring it in so that you maintain eave as well. It's a pretty consistent requirement on the board.
What do y'all think?
Make a motion to deny the submittal. Let's see, what's a good wording to deny?
I think it's a denial of the amendment to previous demo approval.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, we have a motion on the floor for denial of an amendment to the previous demolition approval. Do I have a second to Daryl's motion?
I'll second.
Do a vote, Becky,
Yeah, in favor.
Bill,
Yeah, in favor.
Daryl,
Yeah, in favor.
Omar.
Yeah.
Chaired up to the majority and the motion passed unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Richmond. Agenda item 5, 190 Line Street. Frankie, if you'll give us an introduction or review the project, please.
Yes, slide those.
190 Line Street is in West Side, Council District 6. It is not surveyed, and certain materials demolition standard. They're requesting approval from the construction of the previous structure for her floor demolition. This is the location on Line Street. And I will turn it over to the applicant.
Hey, how are y'all doing? My name is Jason Myers, and I'm the owner of MFI Holding Company. We purchased this project, I guess, probably November, over a year ago. So coming up on a little over a year. As y'all are probably previously aware, the prior owner, basically tore the house down. So we were in previously to get a after the fact demo permit. Since then, we've been instructed by the city to clean the site. So it's essentially an open lot right now. I would like to build back exactly what was there. We've gone to efforts with our architects to find as many old photos. We were able to secure some from the neighbor that gave us some idea as to what the cottage looked like previously. And it's our goal to rebuild exactly what was there. So I'm not exactly sure which photos we have here. As you can see, we have a 0 lot line on one side, very skinny lot. So we're attempting to put back exactly what was there. Very little for us to go on. As you can see, these are the previous photos prior to the group that purchased it and basically tore everything up. This shows you a little bit of the interior. The only thing that I believe was different is this front elevation right here. There was a floodplain issue that we addressed with you guys previously. So if you look at the photo, the stairs are the only thing on the front that has to be a little bit different because of the floodplain. And obviously, we're going back with the original materials as best we can. Victorville windows, wood siding, metal roof. Pretty detailed in terms of what we're trying to bring back to life. Just see if there's any questions I can answer.
Any questions for the applicant?
The front steps, they look like they're drawn as open risers. Is that what you're planning on doing?
Yes, sir. If I go back right here, there is a flooding issue that we had to address. I think we had to elevate it several feet. Is that right, Frankie? I think we had to go up like right at 2.5 feet. And you can see that we had a lot of additional, basically additional bricking that we're going to have to do. And then with the stairs, If I'm not mistaken, we had to recess these a little bit, right? We had to go back a little bit. And that was to meet code, or else we weren't gonna pass the floodplain.
But is your intent not to have enclosed riders?
Yes.
That's just sort of atypical.
And we can, we're flexible. If you want us to work with staff to, to try to close them in, we can do that as well.
Any other questions?
And looking at the front picture window, I'm looking at one end looks like it's detailed differently than the other end. That's where the side windows abut the main window.
Which page am I looking at here? I'm talking this one right here.
Yes.
Okay, so we're talking.
It's a slight detail.
Is it a CAD error?
It's my understanding, last time we discussed this window, that we asked, Neil went back and actually got a photo from the neighbor.
I remember him getting a photo. I don't remember if it was from the neighbor or if it was from Julie O'Connor's class when they did the survey, but I know he got a photo.
Yeah, and so that's kind of what we're referencing, is trying to go back to what was originally there, because obviously the older photos you can see is just completely boarded up.
I'm just saying the molding of the windows is done differently on either end.
If you look.
Left to right?
Yeah, this goes all the way up here on this side and then the old difference.
You understand, like, that window also. That's just, that deal with the wall.
Yeah.
I don't think it breached.
Yeah, I think that's just a CAD, kind of not tightening it up enough. And again, we can work with staff to make sure that we get what they want, or what's approved.
That window also looks off centered in the wall. I don't know if that's just a graphic error, and the window in the rear wall looks off centered as well.
I would go with that just being a CAD error, because if you come back here again, you can see kind of. It's hard to judge.
Plywood.
Yeah, with plywood, because there was nothing there.
Probably was centered.
And keep in mind that by the time we got here, this was gone.
Oh,
It was a pile.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
obviously from an aesthetic, I'm gonna want the windows here so that it's not off center on either side.
Also, are you, the foundation, are you showing just block, or is that going to have a stucco finish?
I want stucco finish it, but we wanted to show the block so y'all could see how high up it went, because we had to raise it a hair because of the flood.
And then the piazza screen wall, the hood over the door, it's almost drawn like a broken pediment. Is that a drafting error too? Or?
Well, it's my understanding that we were gonna work further with staff on the piazza, because we didn't have really anything to go by. And it was sent to us today that there was some question about the piazza window. And I agreed that, I spoke to Frankie beforehand, that we would come in, early next week and try to get that resolved. Because again, you can see I don't have a whole lot of anything to go by.
Yeah, the piazza screen, looks like it needs a little work. Like the cap and.
I mean, ideally, I would like to put something there, something where we could either number it or glass. It would be ideal for marketing.
The light fixture perched up finally, that is what I like. The sloping of the parapet wall is kind of atypical of what you normally see. When I look at the side elevations, the left elevation.
Which page?
Doesn't have page numbers. Is it A7?
There are no numbers on these things.
Okay, well, tell me when I get there. How's that?
Say 7. There you go.
I'm seeing extra line weights on the ridge. What's going on there? I don't understand.
You're talking about right here?
No, the ridge.
No, the ridge.
The ridge?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you look at the previous photos we have, they had kind of a gable, a clip gable. And it's my understanding from talking with Frankie that they would prefer to see us do
That's not my question. There's an extra line that runs from the back of the house up to about the middle of the house. What am I seeing there?
Is it a ridge cap?
Is it a ridge cap or?
I would have to ask on that. I do not recognize that. But if you look at how they had the other one. Right here, I guess this is probably. Again, it's kind of hard to tell what they had. Because this looks a little bit more pointy than if you look at this.
Yeah, it's
Also on A7, the foundation doesn't line up with the piers.
What we've done to
The side again, set that back. Normally, we would line those up.
Okay,
and normally your your standing seam panels on the main roof and the piazza roof, those should also align.
okay.
Be offset like that.
Yeah, we can obviously work on.
You're showing 1/1 windows on the elevations, but I roll down and the cut sheets are 6/6. Which one are you planning on using?
I can work with staff and figure out which one they would prefer for us to use, because again, we had nothing to go by. So I'll try to clarify that with them, with the board approval.
And real quick, we're in board discussion, so I think we need to definitely list everything.
Yeah.
That for staff, but are there any questions?
You know, my primary goal is to rebuild it. You know, it's been a vacant lot for a year. Prior to that, I would say for 50 years, it was a dilapidated building. We are agreeing to put back to the best of our ability what was there. You know, I'm not the one that caused the issue. I'm the one that's trying to fix the issue. So I would, you know, ask for approval so that we can actually get this underway. I do have my money ready to go, and you know, we could have this project knocked out in less than 6 months and basically have it back to, you know, some standing versus the vacant dirt pit that it is right now. And we're more than willing to work with staff to clarify anything like us.
Thank you. Any other questions for the applicant? All right. Do we have anyone speaking?
Utility Storage Charleston Foundation. HCF is encouraged to see the drawings for the reconstruction of 190 Line Street. In keeping with the board's previous motion, we would like to see the structure rebuilt as it was using the original material, with the understanding that elevating the building will be necessary and may result in some modification. This time, HCF finds the submission lacks sufficient detail. We also note that the chimney has been removed in the proposed drawings and will request that this feature be retained as part of the reconstruction. As currently submitted, HCF is unable to support the proposal and respectfully request that the application be deferred pending submission of more complete information and revised drawings. Thank you.
Is there anyone else speaking? Okay, Frank, you can give us any staff comments and recommendations, please.
Okay, so staff had really two conditions. We thought that the roof was rendered incorrectly. Bridge looked like it was flattened and it should come to a point after the clip cables. And the fenestration on the piazza needs to be restudied for placement without documentation of original. We would recommend following a more typical pattern as seen in historic structures. Staff recommendation is an approval of reconstruction with board and staff conditions and a final review by staff permit drawings.
Thank you, Frankie. Mr. Myers, do you want to respond to or clarify anything raised in the public comment or the staff comments before moving to board discussion?
I guess the biggest thing is, you know, obviously with their concern, we have very little to go off of. And we have made efforts, you know, to get photos, to find more information. You know, again, by the time we got this, it was literally a pile of wood and metal, you know, from where they had basically allowed it to collapse. I think everybody is well aware, you know, they saw it on the news. All we're trying to do is get the project moving into the right direction so that we can rebuild something that shouldn't have been torn down to begin with. So we are making every effort to find information in order to take it back to the original state. And I am willing to do that. You know, so we're asking to be allowed to start the project so that we can actually get it back to a structure versus, you know, what it is now.
Thank you. All right, public comment for the applicant's presentation is now closed. We'll move into board discussion and a vote. I think we need a list of everything that you said.
These are terrible drawings. It's
Yeah.
another example of really, really bad drawings. There are so many inconsistencies. There's no way that there's no way that this documents what would be going back. And I cannot support these drawings. And then there are other things in here, like what Frankie pointed out, that the roof is not flat. I look at this window detailing in here, it's not a detail that you would have on a historic window with the little thin sill and the skirt board below it. So whoever is doing these drawings, they're not versed in working with historic buildings. And they're just really sloppy drawings. And I have no doubt that you want to go back and do the right thing, but whoever is doing your drawings, they're doing a lousy job for you.
They've been terminated.
Yeah.
But I will point out that Neil Stevenson was one of the ones that was overseeing this. So I'm pretty sure he does have some experience, but at the same time, we're trying to move forward. And I guess my question would be is these are the same drawings that were submitted back in April and July. Were these same comments given to me at that point?
Yeah,
We're
we're
in board
presentation
discussion.
closed.
To Bill's point, I appreciate the fact that this is going back and someone's actually trying to do, and I commend the applicant for that. My problem is that I could not approve these drawings. Now, I don't know if it's possible to make a motion that we approve the reconstruction, but not the drawings. And I don't know, I don't see how that gets done. The roof is rendered incorrectly. Their drawings are mislabeled. There's very little detail. There's very little detail that even a conceptual, like is that foundation exposed blocker, is the stucco, it's not labeled. The windows don't seem to be rendered correctly in the building. It is going on, and I just feel like I couldn't approve. I agree with Bill. I could not approve this set of drawings. I could approve the reconstruction, but I couldn't approve these drawings because when we approve this, we're approving what's submitted, approving these drawings, and I could not approve these drawings. Which is a little bit of a conundrum because certainly I support moving forward with the reconstruction of this building.
So my question is, do you want them to come back to the board with the drawings,
I
or do
think-
you?
I think the drawings are so bad and so many discrepancies. It's like Fillmore says, we're approving the drawings, and I can't approve these drawings. They're so bad.
And approving reconstruction is just almost like
Just a thank you. That doesn't mean much for the entity.
I mean, this wouldn't be a denial, it would be a deferral in my eyes.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Did y'all make these same comments when the architect was in here last July? Did y'all tell them to make these corrections previously? I wasn't here, so I'm asking a legitimate question, because these drawings are essentially very similar to what was submitted last July.
We wouldn't have approved them last July either. We would not have ever approved these.
But did y'all make the comments to tell them that these things were wrong? That's my question.
Frankie has some of the.
Yes.
I don't remember seeing them.
I remember the demolition.
It was submitted as part of.
that we wouldn't have approved. Just.
Well, it was submitted with the demolition, because last time they were in here for the reconsider the after fact demolition permit. But they had these drawings.
I hear you, and we likely denied.
Frankie has it right here on the site. I mean, at least it was deferred for restudy,
Yes, we did.
Oh, deferred for
additional documentation and restudy.
So
and there was a list of the.
actually, it was the front and rear facade should be restudied. Windows and flood vents appear misaligned within the facade. Restudy the window and the piazza screen. Piers should align with piazza columns. Fenestration on piazza should be restudied for placement. without documentation of original placement, windows and doors should follow typical rhythms in historic structures. I feel like I'm hearing everything that you just said.
Okay, so y'all did tell her this and she just didn't do it.
Unfortunately, that looks like the case. The only comment I don't see, and I don't remember if we saw the roof, is the pointed roof versus the flat, but most of these comments we did make. And so I want
I
to see
did
this.
email you the last meeting results.
That's fine.
I want to see this. Actually, I don't want to see this anymore. We've seen it so many.
I know, I
times.
really want to.
I really want to give it away, but and I'm now once again looking at the comments from last time, and I think we have to do this thing.
Same comments.
It is.
I
With the
think-
addition of the staff, which and the staff condition covers the additional comment about the ridge and the.
And I think the comments are pretty straightforward, and I think the getting to an appropriate character of just the windows and things really is just coming from, you know, similar language, similar buildings. So I think it's a really simple, honestly, I think it's a really simple architectural exercise. If you have any questions, I'm sure staff or, well, you know, Historical Preservation or Preservation Society would answer or review for appropriateness. So I think it can be done in a straightforward fashion. Yeah, I mean, we hate to see it again. You hate to do it again. We are really appreciative of the reconstruction, but just the detailing has to be appropriate. So there we are.
I'll make a motion for deferral, based upon staff's, comments and board discussion. Specifically, need for more accurate and complete drawings.
Do you want to also? Okay, all right, we have a motion on the floor for a deferral with staff conditions and board discussion, and for submission of accurate and complete drawings. Do I have a second to Bill's motion?
I'll second.
Thank you, Daryl. I'll put the motion to a vote. Becky,
Yay in favor.
Fillmore,
Yeah.
Bill,
Yeah, in favor.
Daryl,
Yeah, in favor.
Chair votes with the majority, the motion passed unanimously.
So-
And thank you, Mr. Myers, for what you're doing.
Yeah.
Question, does that mean I have to come back to y'all or are we submitting drawings to her?
Is this one because it's not for the fact we have to approve it, or if they were to submit accurate drawings to you, you could see them for the reconstruction?
I think you have
You
to come
want-
back.
It's gotta come back, yeah.
Let's come back to.
I will say, I would just focus on the exterior. You don't need parts of this whole set. So I would just focus on what you need to focus on to get that part right and get the approval going.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was a little side.
No, we've seen this project so many times.
Yeah, really the
We
elevation,
really want you to be able
the
to.
plan and the elevations.
Thank you. All right, agenda item 6 is 17 Pinckney Street. Frank, to do this introduction overview of the project, please.
I want to make sure everything else knows that.
Sometimes architects just do such a disservice to the client. It's just
I think
painful.
if you rewatch the meeting and go back to Bill's questions.
I got Bill's,
Oh, okay. How did you do your motion?
the second.
Oh. Daryl,
I'm normally typing the motion here, too slowly, okay. 17 Pinckney Street is in Council District 8. It is a category 4, circa 1870 in the Old Historic District, requesting a conceptual approval for exterior restoration, access deck and shade structure. This is the property's location on Pinckney, and I will turn it over to the applicant.
Thank you all. Dan Sweeney with Stump House. This application and the submittal today is twofold. We have the front house fronting Pinckney Street, which is shown here on the left, in the top left. The teal colored building. The aim is to restore that building. Here are some of the photographs of that front portion of the building. Part of that restoration will be foundation work. There are steel bars over all of the windows. They will be removed. A new handrail. The current handrail is metal and is illegal and coupled in its height and the width of the pickets. And the homeowner has some original wood turned balusters, 10 or 12 of those. So that's what is seen on the drawings and what we're proposing. And that new handrail will go down the steps too. Notice here, there's not a photograph of the steps. The steps are brick, and we're proposing to put back Charleston brick there on the steps. And I will also point out a new door leaf in this door right here. It's currently a 6-panel door, not historic. This one we believe probably is, but there are no lights in that door. Transom above it, so we're proposing to match that other door. And then there would be new paint throughout. And that's the body. Oh, also some copper gutters. There are some half-round painted gutters on the building, but that's the body of repair, most visible work that will be done to the historic structure. Some other work that also will be visible is the patch and repair where necessary, all of it, columns, chimney, trim, siding. We're going to paint the building, make all the windows operable. They're all double hung windows, but they are haven't been operable for a long time. And then we'll have a new landscape here. I don't know. It's actually pretty nice. Just needs to be cleaned up. So then the second part of this project, all of that is seen very easily from the right of way as the building fronts Pinckney. The second part is what you see here shaded in the back part of the building. This is an access ramp, an ADA access ramp, which is shown in yellow. And then in green is level access and loading dock for entering and getting off, exiting the horse carriages. So there's a stair right across the back side of the property that comes up to a new door. I think it's worth pointing out that the reason the use of the front building is a ticket office for this carriage company. So the idea is that they'll pull people through this area, talk about history of Charleston. There'll be a bathroom in there. They can purchase tickets and get on and off their horse or their carriage. The shaded red portion in back is we had permission to demolish it, and the square and circular foundations were found up underneath the floor, and we aim to preserve that and the footprint of that building, which we believe, based on some early Sanborn maps, probably was a kitchen house, maybe in its infancy or when it started. And so that will be built into the landscape plan. We've salvaged the brick from those foundations, and those outlines will be seen. This ramp and loading dock would have a shade structure. There is an existing shade structure on the property just to the south, which is on Ginyard Street, seen here on the right. That is a steel structure. We are proposing a wood structure here. It has a fairly large cantilever on it, and it's right here in this back, right here. Here are some photographs. You can see those in your material. The existing house is on the bottom, and the proposed up on the top. Each of these drawings. Here you see the shade structure in back. This is the rear of the house. The existing openings on the rear of the house, we would be brought back as a door and 3 windows. And it's worth pointing out that the roof line of the shade structure is underneath the eave of the building. This is the east side of the property. There's an alley that walks down here, and we are proposing a fence along the back side. And that's it.
Any questions for the applicant?
Okay, is the new shade structure in the back visible between the 2 buildings on Kenyon?
It would be. Yep.
Is the ramp wood framed, the new ramp?
Mhm.
Okay.
The
Will there be-
proposals.
Will there be some site work that eventually happens with this hardscape work?
Yeah, there will be hardscape. Yep, most definitely.
Any other questions?
Will there be underpinning under the ramp or something? I guess it's just shown kind of graphically on the. what
Yeah,
is it?
so it would be we haven't detailed it fully, but the idea is that it's a wood ramp with composite
Okay.
slats on the top to let the water flow through.
Any other questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have anyone speaking? Franklin, if you give us any staff comments and recommendations, please.
Staff just had 2 observations. One is that the previous demolitions it was approved in 2 parts. Was May of last year and January of this year. And then the proposed roof is below the eave of the historic house. Staff recommendation is a conceptual approval with preliminary kind of review.
Thank you. Mr. Sweetie, did you want to respond to or clarify anything?
No.
All right, public comment in the applicant's presentation is now closed. We'll move into board discussion and a vote.
I think everything that's going on with the main structure is wonderful. I don't really have any issues with the ramp and platform per se. I would guess we would see a hardscape plan later on.
If you grant final by staff, the staff will review.
Okay.
that part of that.
And I appreciate the preservation of those sort of cistern-like
Yeah.
structures that they uncovered in the demolition.
Yeah, I appreciate the construction, the renovation. I am a little concerned about the visibility of this thing in the back and that the roof kind of dives right into the top of the window. I don't know, it seems a little
That I had
like,
a
and
note
it's not
about that,
pulled
but
in from the side. It seems a little not.
you heard the little shed on the
Yeah.
side, yeah.
Yeah.
That, there is a note that says that the rafter against the house clears the window, so they're, in other words, they're shortening that rafter, but the design of that is a little heavy, I think.
Yeah. And I mean, typically we would ask that it was pulled in from the side of the existing building and it,
Yeah.
but the roof form was maybe a little bit more sensitive, maybe a little less slope, so it was a little more
A little lighter.
compatible. I just felt a little lighter under that.
Disagree with that.
That was it. Really the only comment I had was about that little sloped roof. It looks a little awkward there. Maybe could have a lighter touch.
I
Did you
can
want
make
to
a
make a
motion.
motion?
I'll
Yeah.
make a motion. I would make a motion for conceptual approval, but I would actually ask that that shade canopy be pulled in 4 to 6 inches inside. Like which direction, man? North south. It would be pulled down to the west, so it sits about 6 inches between the corner of the building and the new shade structure. And then I would ask that the roof form be be a little lighter, to be restudied with staff, where it's maybe less slope and not as heavy. More compatible with the historic building. So that's a pretty ugly motion.
I was trying to think of an eloquent way to say be less heavy, but I'm not.
It's pretty ugly. I mean, I think it could be, maybe the members are thinner and the slope is less, so that it's not pushing into the window.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor and then preliminary and final review by staff.
Yes.
All right, we have a motion on the floor for conceptual approval with preliminary and final review by staff with some board conditions. The shade canopy be pulled in 4 to 6 inches from the west side.
Actually, that's all all those columns, the whole edge, the shade. In plan, that the east edge of the structure be pulled down to the west. That makes sense.
And the roof form be resetting with staff to reduce the slope and be less heavy. And that. Okay, do I have a second to Becky's motion?
I'll second.
Daryl, put the motion to a vote. Somewhere.
Yeah, in favor.
Bill,
Yeah, in favor.
Becky,
Yay in favor.
Daryl,
Yeah, in favor.
chair votes for the majority and the motion passes unanimously.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Agenda item 7, 105 King Street. You're out. Frankie, if you'll give us an introduction or overview of the project, please.
105 King Street is in Charleston, Council District 8. It is not rated circa 1945 in the Old Historic District. They are requesting conceptual approval for second-story addition and fenestration. This is the property's location on King Street. And I will turn it over to the applicant.
Thank you, Joel Adrian, Coastal Creek Design, and I'm gonna say third time's the charm. Appreciate your time this evening, and I won't bore too much because I think it was really a roof issue. First time it was fenestration, siding. This last review, it was really just roof, and I think we had good conversation, and hopefully I followed direction well. I guess I'll put here this, so we're still concentrating on that hyphen piece between the two structures. And floor plan did not change. The only change from your previous review should be that roof form, and you'll see it was strike 1, strike 2, and hopefully we got a base hit. Let me get to, I think it's the elevation. So existing condition, and then previous and current. And on the previous, with the goal, the original direction was to try to maintain not just the eave, but the freeze board on the rear of that front structure. And so that was what was kind of forcing us to try to create this little step in, this hyphen off of it. And then we put the parapet wall and just the slope. And then it was decided that maybe a little cross gable to the two would be a better solution. So we did that. We also brought that fascia down so it at least tucks under the fascia and freeze of that rear corner of the front building before we were starting it, to try to preserve that sightline sense. From this view here, this corner is visible as you're walking down, and this is set back from here, so that would be maintained. The other side is visible, but there is significant vegetation that shields it well. That would be this side of the house. So I was there. This one a little more challenging because it's flat wall going across. But again, if you look at the aerials and everything, it is not real visible because of the heavy landscaping. I don't know, I think that's, honestly, I think that's all I really needed to present. But we'll be glad to answer questions that y'all might have. I'll cycle through some of these pictures here for you. Maybe just leave it at some of that updated 3D.
Any questions? Do we have anyone speaking from the public? Becky, do you have feedback, comments, and recommendations?
Staff just had the observation that the submittal list follows the previous board discussion and recommendations. Staff is recommending approval.
Joel, did you want to respond to or clarify anything?
No, just glad that my application made the cut before you break.
Your break after this time. Thank you. All right, public comment and the applicant's presentation is now closed. We'll move into board discussion and a vote. I like this roof line way better.
Yeah, that's
than
much,
the other
much better.
I think you did exactly what Bill suggested and it worked out the best it can. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yes.
This is a funky house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a hard project. Yeah.
I said that last time. It's a hard, it's small, but it was very hard. So we make a motion to
Conceptual approval. It's
Accept.
required by staff.
yes, ma'am.
All right. We have a motion on the floor for conceptual approval, followed by staff. So,
I'll second.
thank you, Bill. Put the motion to a vote. Becky,
Yay in favor.
Daryl,
In favor.
Bill,
Yeah, in favor.
chair votes the majority and the motion passes unanimously.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Third was the charm. You want to go through? Yeah. 10 minutes. We'll be back at 6:17.
Could be within hands of things.
I have to keep on my, oh no, I gotta keep on mine. So correct. Yeah. Not supposed to be. Okay.
Yeah. Organ machine.
Oh, and I'm pretty good. Fans running. Yeah, and that's what I can. And then they come down into the yard, come up out to the front, it's right there. And then we covered in rocks on that side out to. That's just.
Correct. Yeah.
And that's just.
Doing great on the house.
And then we got a refall and call. How he's gonna do. Yeah.
Did they finish the read?
We're aware that.
And it's all concrete. Roads called concrete.
Thank goodness I bought it 2 years ago.
That's
I like it. Okay, this is what I said. Okay, so I'm complaining on this for a year or more. I'm not like it, but it just, he never finally had to get a permit. Said, "Wow, I can do it." And he finally took him 9 months to finally get down here and ask him what they gave him. Don't you start on it. You got that in March, right? Yeah. Here's how we do it. And so at any time.
Yeah. So you can there. Yeah.
I guess because you're used to what I did today.
You used to plywood.
Really? But it was just like a whole
Yeah.
big.
Oh.
Be like, they got all that on. They get that cruise, they did that in 4 days. And they came back. They put that roof on in 3 more days. I said, please do not test your lives. You don't get there without plans. Yes, you'll get here. It's the problem. 18 months, but you know, 7 days. Well,
So I tell them, they take the boards off.
no,
They
they
just clean it up.
fix anything there. They're like hermit. Not a lot.
I know the
And
feeling
then they
about
come back. Make sure that you get the screen back with the bathroom.
well, that's good. That's very good condition.
So.
I'm so. Part of my metal pulled up. So I have all the chain box over. Around to do that. When you're with me. Discrepancy between. Not just records. Everyone. Slightly different group of people because of that. So you got in Boston, it's a number of designers and decorators. Letters, the hackers. There's no comparison. It's gonna be early again next year. January 10th. Something like that.
Oh, okay. Well, down there's.
Having multiple.
Right. But. Oh,
Rebuilding.
yeah. But that's okay. Are you?
Your mom,
Are you?
32 shop. I mean, maybe skip with the house. I'm just here for emotional support. Yeah.
We need.
He's got the 6-pack of beer out. So- Oh, goodness. Leaves.
Thank God, I made friends with Justin. He's so nice.
It is hard. I love him, but it's hard.
It's so bad. It just had to come out one day because it's either. So we had never seen it. Because we started, so now, about you're skimming around. No, it didn't. Then I had to go out in here and cut it off. But they had to take everything out and redo it all that. So I tried to, do that new scammer. He told me. It'd be better. Sometimes they can either get it in. I'm trying to.
Well, if you're willing, I mean, even just or a minute. Yeah. On the telephone, go up there and speak to them, and it's just such a volume of them to ask you. That it just.
The tax not extra thing.
Oh. That's I have to blow off.
Well, this was before.
One rip. If you get up there. Oh, really? And blow off, which can be crazy. Well, those oak trees are not, those oak trees are young. So none of the put as a house head tree was on it. The oak trees like often never had tree trees.
Let's look up that. There's stuff like that.
I can't be on the roof every. Look, raking leaves. I would get us. So there is a parapet that is adjacent to the piazza. And it's not hard, 6 foot step height, but it's leaning up, climb up on it with the blower. The good thing is like there's enough of an angle that the ladder doesn't slip. Well, that's good. It's not hard to do. But you have to do it because the scupper, the trains that entire route is about that big. And so. If you one of those kind of bubble protectors that keeps and stuff out. Yeah, I think you just on the other side of the road. And yeah, I don't know a better way to do it other than that with the tree on the corner. And sees because of twisted on the arc and the city arbor. But I also like might be a happier person, but it happens. Hey, this is stupid. I guess.
Stop laughing about the big from the early age. I think we can get a big on this without phone number.
Not like that.
I didn't mean it the way it did.
Well, it meant that I wasn't gonna do it with.
I knew where he was going.
Agenda item 8, 32 Charlotte Street. Frankie, if you give us an introduction overview of the project, please.
32 Charlotte Street is in the Garden District, so District 4, and is category 2, circa 1820 in the Lone Star District. They are requesting conceptual approval for rear district. This is the property's location on Charlotte Street. And I will turn it over to the applicant.
Evening, my name is Chip Wallace. I'm the architect for this project. My client, Robin Gramling, is here, and we have Glenn Gardner for moral support. And Glenn has done a plan for us on this addition as well. It's almost like backwards from what he was trying to do to get the access for the addition. What we're asking for is we've been working on this house for about 5 years and have done every room in the house redone except for the 2 rooms that Robin really needs, the kitchen and the master bath and closet. So that's what this is all about. We're creating kind of a garden room entry off the back that if you could, Frankie, could you go to the site plan?
There's a clicker up there,
I'm not good at this.
the right arrow.
Hey, I can do it. Here. So this is the garden room we're adding on the back. It's really functioning as kind of an entry, almost like an orchard. It's gonna have plants in it, and it's kind of the entry into the house from back here and out to the garden from the inside. We're redoing the existing kitchen, expanding it slightly. This is the old portion of the house. We are respecting the openings in the walls. We're gonna have them visible inside with the brick jack arches and everything, so it's gonna be really pretty cool. Glenn has an axis here that he's working on for the whole project here. And that kind of set the tone for where we wanted this. We came before you probably 4 years ago. And we presented a design, and then before we finished the evening, it was stated that we should do a site analysis to see if this is actually visible from the street. And I redesigned it and pulled this down about 6 feet to keep it from being visible. And it just destroyed all of Glenn's axis, and it wasn't worth doing that. So we're back to you with the old edition that is visible from the street. We had the Preservation Society out there a couple weeks ago, and they asked if it was visible from Chapel Street. And from back here, this existing wall blocks a good bit of it, but you can see the peak of the gables of these old structures. So yes, it's visible from Chapel as well. See what else. The comments from previously were taken into account. There was a proposed change of windows in the new kitchen. We proposed a double window, and it was suggested we leave the old one, so we've gone back to not messing with that. The existing bathroom up here, which that wall is existing, projecting beyond the dependency. We have decided to take that out and move it inbound so that we expose both corners of this dependency now. And previously we had an elevator here that went up to a 2-story space against the gable end of this dependency, and that was commented on. So we have moved back now so that we're actually 6 feet away from the dependency wall with a very low pitched 1-story element as there is now there. So we have taken that into account. And basically it's just taking the old kitchen, expanding into an old back stairway and laundry room, making a new kitchen. This is an existing room that was added between 1888 and 1902. We're leaving that as is. And we're kind of wrapping around this corner with our proposed addition. The second floor now is a walk-in closet, a new master bath, and new closets for the master suite. This is the roof plan proposed. So we have the existing gables exposed. These are very low pitches. And I did notice one thing that throw out there. That is this is our new proposed rear elevation for the garden room. Basically, it's just a lot of glass, and this is a new second story wrapping around the existing. That's an existing window in the gable end. We thought it in to take out, but with a little bit of effort, I think we could leave that window. So that was one thing I was going to suggest. This is the existing element. That's the existing roof. So this is what we're adding here. That's all existing. That's existing. So Glenn is here. If you have any questions for him on the landscape plan, is there anything else I could say? Any questions?
Any questions for the applicant?
No.
All right, thank you. Do we have anyone speaking? Frank, can you give us any staff comments or recommendations, please?
That has some observations. We did that visit to double check because y'all back. The last meeting, I will say the last meeting was in 2022, so someone fell apart. So we did confirm that there will be visibility, very slight. Windows have been returned to original configuration per previous board motion. And property is category 2 in the architecture inventory, so any alteration must be approved by the board. That's a staff recommendation as a conceptual approval. Should not just be with board comment and preliminary and final by staff.
Thank you, Frankie. Mr. Wallace, do you want to respond to or clarify anything raised in the staff comments recommendations?
No, I think I addressed those.
Right, public comment in the applicant's presentation is not closed. We'll move into board discussion and vote.
Most of our comments kind of centered around how the addition touched or engaged both the carriage house and the main house. And I think he's done a very good job of respecting those corners of the buildings, both buildings, and also giving sort of visually more breathing room between the addition and the historic kitchen house. So I think he's pretty much addressed the board's concerns.
Okay, that, okay, side of the building, this is. So this wall, there wasn't a request to step that back and show that corner.
Don't remember that one. I do remember the other side.
Which elevation?
This piece, really, it's really forward. It's safe. I'm not sure, because
Yeah, it's moving.
I'm just
back.
surprised that it wasn't asked to respect that corner that's adjacent to the curb, at least like. You know what I mean?
One more, do you have any comments?
My first comment is that reviewing these plans drove me crazy because existing plans are separated by elevations and previous and currently submitted are together, but they are separated from existing by many pages of drawings. The same thing as plans and elevation. I bet I spent 45 minutes scrolling back and forth trying to figure out what was going on. So that's my first issue. And submittal requirements want existing, previous, and current in some way together on the plan. And there's a reason for that. It's that when you're reviewing these things on your computer screen, it's very, very difficult. You have to keep scrolling back. Right. I'll just be honest with you. It just drove me crazy on this one. And because there's 3 sets of each elevations and plans to look at to try to discern exactly what is being changed and what's being proposed. So that's my first comment. My second comment, this is a lot of addition, and this house is a really, really handsome, significant single house, and it has been added onto sort of inappropriately, but now historically over the years, and to some degree, and I'm not saying that I'm dead set against additions on this house. I'm certainly not, but it seems to me that in some respects, what existed was very small single-story additions which connected the house to the ancillary historic structure. And this addition diminishes that significantly. And in a way, it sort of continues this process of adding more complex I don't want to use the word confused because I really don't think that's architecture. I don't think it's drawn. But a lot of, a lot of stuff going on. And continuing what I would kind of view as sort of a, perhaps an unfortunate pattern on a really lovely, significant category 2 single house. But I am sort of struggling with, whether I think that or not. I have to admit, I am having a difficult time sorting this one out and coming to what I think is a reasonable and fair conclusion.
But I mean, the question I always ask myself is, did they address the previous motion?
And that's fair to ask that.
That's hard, because we would not approve it. I don't think. It's not following the guidelines. I mean, with, respecting the corners and respecting eve lines and massing. So massing is very complicated for this building, and that the fact that first floor wall is flushed with that eve line is above the existing eve line it seems like just really unfortunate architectural move.
Daryl, what do you think?
I think I'm following Bill, if they address the previous comments.
Okay, I really struggle with that when we've given feedback, even if it's, several years ago. And if they address it and come back to the board.
Me being on that side of the fence most of the time.
I really struggle with.
Yeah.
And of course, this was deferred last time.
With comments. Right.
Yeah.
And I supported the deferral. Honestly, when it's deferred, if I have the option of voting no to the deferral, not because I would support it, but because I might not agree with all the comments that are being are in the deferral or some principal reasons. But I had the same feeling about this last time I have about it this time. I supported the deferral, hoping that it would come back more modest.
But it didn't
But I
address.
see your point entirely, that they went back and
When it was deferred, a massing study wasn't requested. So.
Visibility, clarification. Clarification of visibility was requested and they didn't prove it, but staff says it is visible. So.
It was requested of staff to confirm
The visibility.
the visibility, yeah.
I guess in the 3D view, you can see that second floor piece. You can see part of it. You can.
I just think as a rule with this board, I don't want to give people feedback and they come back and we tell them to take a completely different approach.
I agree 100%.
This is a category 2 building. That's all I need to say. This is a cat 2. And that's our highest, that's our second highest level building. This is just not a sensitive addition. There, you guys might still be able to pass motion. I don't know.
I just feel like we're backtracking.
I agree. And as much as I don't disagree with Becky's comment, I just.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I just think in terms of there's a reality the decisions that we make as a board. Harold, do you want to make a motion?
I was just gonna ask you that. Can I make the motion for approval as submitted with staff comments, preliminary and final by staff.
We have a motion on the floor for conceptual approval with staff comments.
Staff only had
Yeah,
observations.
so no staff comments. Conceptual approval with preliminary and final review by staff. Do we have a second to Daryl's motion?
I'll second.
Bill, I'll put the motion to a vote. Fillmore,
I oppose.
Becky,
I opposed.
Daryl,
You in favor?
Bill.
Yeah, in favor.
Chair votes with the majority and the motion passes 3-4 and 2 against. Thank you. Agenda item 9,
It's the worst start.
28 Montague Street. Frankie, if you'll give us an introduction overview of the project.
That's just guys, that is just horrible.
Alright, 28 Montague is in Charleston Village. Look at that. It is a category 3, circuit 18.
This is where.
Requesting a conceptual approval for a new 2-story house. This is the property located on Montague, and I will turn it over.
Evening, everyone. It's good to see you. Brian Crouch. Our application tonight is for an accessory structure on a fairly deep lot on Montague Street. The Historic Charleston Foundation has an interior and exterior easement on the existing structure here. We weren't able to do any alterations to that structure, so we decided to do an accessory at the rear of the property. There is a pool that's currently being dug here. Just kind of get into plan. These homeowners wanted a pretty simple structure. They have a really lovely yard and didn't want to take away from that as much as they could. It is a 2-story house, the existing, and so we're able to do a full 2 stories here, keeping under the 24 max height limit. It's a brick structure. We would like to do just some simple kind of sawtooth corbelling with a running line corbel here at the 2nd floor, and then also at the trees underneath the roof soffit. This has been approved by Historic Charleston Foundation. And then you can see here in the site elevations how far back this addition will be, or accessory structure will be set. Again, the pool is currently being dug as we speak. But a simple accessory structure.
Any questions for the applicant? All right, thank you. Do we have anyone speaking?
Deep Utilities for Charleston Foundation, deep sea holds an easement on 28 Montague. We have reviewed and approved the proposed plans and have found them to be compliant with the terms of our easement.
Do we have anyone else speaking? All right, Frankie, you'll give us city staff comments and recommendations, please.
I've just had observations that the proposal is subordinate and will be minimally visible from my view. And the proposed structure is differentiated from the historic. Our recommendation is a conceptual approval with preliminary and final review by staff.
Thank you, Frankie. Mr. Crouch, did you want to respond to the clarifying? All right, public comment on the applicant's presentation is now closed. We'll move into board discussion and a vote.
It's a fairly simple building. Some nice, simple brick detailing. One thing I would like to bring up, if you're looking to do a historic, accurate, shutter, the center stile is always below the shutter. That center stile is always below the parting rail. That way, when you close the shutters, you can actually get to the slide bolt. So
Was it shown?
they look like they align with the parting rail.
Okay.
Yeah, just drop that center stile.
Yeah,
Just a nice. My only other comment, and I don't really have strong feelings on this, I wonder if the canopy might want some sort of visual support on the two ends, like maybe some bracketing or something. But other than that, okay.
I'm in agreement with you on. Okay.
Who would like to make a
I have
motion?
nothing to add.
Got something?
No, I said I have nothing. to add. I think it's fine.
Let's see,
Software more nodding, so I just.
I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion for conceptual approval. Taking into account, were there any staff conditions, Frankie?
They were not.
Okay, taking into account board discussion and with preliminary and final review by staff.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor for conceptual approval with preliminary and final review by staff, taking into account board discussion. Do you have a second to Bill's motion?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Daryl. We'll put the motion to a vote. Becky?
Yeah, in favor.
Belmore?
Yeah, in favor.
Bill?
Yeah, in favor.
Daryl?
Yay in favor.
Chair votes the majority and the motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Agenda item 10, 145 South Battery. Brian, you have to give us an introduction overview of the project, please.
145 South Battery is in Charleston, Council District 8. It is not surveyed circa 1927 in the Old Historic District. They're requesting conceptual approval for an enclosed lift at the rear. This property is located in South Battery, and I will turn it over to the applicant.
Would you like me to use the microphone or?
You don't have to.
You don't have to.
No one else has.
All right. Good evening, Sebastian Von Marshall. I'm the architect on this project, and we are requesting conceptual approval for the addition of a lift and a lift enclosure and a handrail on top of an existing non-historic addition at the back of 145 South Battery. Here's a survey of the property with South Battery visible, and then some sandboard maps that show some of the evolution of the site. The house was built in the 1920s, so it would have been one of the earlier houses towards the end of the peninsula. There's some aerial images that show it from the different sides, some context pictures. That's 145 South Battery in the middle on the top with a view looking east, a view looking west, and then some of the adjacent structures across the street. And then some site pictures. And I'm going to get into the evolution of the house a little bit, but the area in question is right back here on the side of this 2014 kitchen addition, right here. And you can see it here. And then this is a screen porch addition from 2019, 2020. You can see a picture from the top of this flat roof. And you can see a view from South Battery looking back. And this view you'll see again here with a sketch in a second that shows kind of a perspective rendering. And then some context or some present pictures of other lifts and some other similar conditions in the immediate area and other places downtown. You can prominently see on the UG house on Meeting Street, obviously the lift that was added on the porch, some other similar situations. Some of these roof terraces on houses that are within a block of 145 South Battery. And then here we're getting into some of these sketches, and I might actually skip over these really quickly to first explain the plan of what we're proposing. So floor plan north is this way, South Battery running across the bottom of the page. This is that kitchen addition from 2014. I'm not entirely sure who the architect was on that, but the engineer was Russell Rosen, and the owner is engaging him again to help with this scope. And then over here is an enclosed screen porch that I mentioned. This board saw in 2019. It was actually presented by Julia Martin and approved and built. And part of that scope included the addition of this handrail on the top of this flat roof over the kitchen. You can see here the proposed first floor plan, which shows where that lift would be added. It is entirely connected to the 2014 addition, and it's actually designed to be held off the back corner of that brick house, so it doesn't interact or in any way touch the brick corner of the building. The existing second floor, again, you can see the roof of the screen porch, the flat roof on the kitchen addition, a shed that was added when the screen porch was added as well, and then the lift that would come off on the side there. And then I think the elevations are very telling. You can see this is the most affected elevation facing east. You can see the existing kitchen addition again from 2014. It has a wood paneled wall system on the side that has applied stiles and rails with some sticking on the inside. And the idea is that our lift would essentially mimic that. So it's the kitchen addition is not historic. The idea is that we would essentially be touching and adding on to try to make the lift enclosure blend in with the non-historic addition. It's all part of a later addition to the historic house. And then the elevation facing the water or Murray Boulevard on the south side. And you can see here where that left addition would essentially protrude out facing east. The view from the west, the only change here is the addition of that handrail, which I mentioned, which you can see in the other two as well. I'm just going to go back really quickly up here. We'd be proposing to add a low handrail. The goal is to actually try to lower some of the overframing that currently makes up the flat roof. We think we can reduce the pitch enough so that handrail can be very minimal, and the goal is to make it as unobtrusive and as inconspicuous as possible. It would just be a very simple metal handrail that would be mounted right on top of the parapet, ideally. And then lastly, the South Battery elevation, and really the only change you would see is this little bump out right here. And now I'm gonna quickly go back. We did provide some perspective renderings that I think will hopefully add some color to visibility. It is visible. That's why we're here. But you know, you can see in this elevation, which is what's you can see from South Battery, essentially it'd be added right in this corner, and that's it right there. And then the same idea, obviously this from taken from the backyard, so not from the public right away, but you can see the impact of essentially what that would do. We would be losing some of these younger magnolia trees here. Those were planted, I'm not entirely sure when, but they are not grand trees. We met with the preservation groups, both of them, and they did not have any objections to this. Again, the limited impact, the location to the rear of the structure, the fact that we're really touching non-historic material, the attempt to blend aesthetically the addition, the lift enclosure into the aesthetic of the kitchen. And we did also reach out to all the adjacent neighbors. Their letters, I think, were included in your packet. The one that is not, unfortunately, but came in late, was the immediately adjacent neighbor at 143 South Battery, which is the side closest to this addition. They also gave support for the project. So I happy to answer any questions you have. Thank you.
Questions for the applicant?
Am I reading this correctly where it's a lift to the roof terrace? So
That's right.
That's correct. Yeah. Yeah. There's currently access to the roof terrace, but you're climbing through a window. And the owner recently shattered his femur running, and it was on crutches for a long time. So that mobility is becoming a real concern for them.
Any other questions? Do we have anyone speaking? Two groups have left the building. Frankie, if you give us any staff comments and recommendations, please.
We just had observation that the proposed addition is an alteration to a previous addition. Though it will cause that to be slightly visible from the right of way. Staff recommendation is conceptual approval with preliminary final review.
Thank you, Frankie. Mr. Von Marsh, would you want to respond to or clarify anything?
No, thank you.
Public comment and the applicant's presentation is now closed. We'll move into board discussion and a vote.
Well, it's simple, street.
Who wants to make a motion? Bill?
I'll make a motion for, they're asking for conceptual approval with preliminary and final review by staff.
We have a motion on the floor for conceptual approval with preliminary and final review by staff. Do I have a second to Bill's motion?
Awesome.
To a vote. Becky?
yeah, in favor.
Daryl?
Yeah, in favor.
Bill,
You in favor?
Fillmore,
Yeah, in fact.
chair votes for the majority and the motion passed unanimously.
Thank you very much.
Agenda item 11, 86 South Battery Street. Frankie, if you'll give us an introduction overview of the project.
86 South Battery is in Charleston, Council District 8. It is not surveyed circa 1911 in the Old Historic District. Requesting final approval for detailed revisions to new construction plans of an accessory building. Is the property's location on South Battery? And I will turn it over to the applicant.
Good evening, board members, Erin Lanier with Julia Martin Architects. Our first request this evening is for approval for 3 elements on a new accessory structure that we have designed for the rear of 86 South Battery. This project was previously submitted several months ago for board review, but was ultimately withdrawn and approved by staff given the limited visibility from the public right of way. As our final construction documents were being reviewed, staff determined they were unable to approve a fabric awning, our preferred windows, and composite shutters. So those items were eliminated at that time and the project has since been permitted. But we ultimately felt that the minimal visibility and past precedent and the fact that this is a new building warranted bringing those elements back to the board for your consideration. These are photos of the historic 19-teens residence at 86 South Battery, which includes a non-historic garage at the rear that has been approved for removal. These photos also highlight the minimal visibility of the rear yard from the public right of way, which is essentially limited to the view through the porte cochere there on the east. This is the approved site plan showing the new accessory structure at the rear of the lot. It's almost entirely behind the main house and approximately 93 feet away from the street. And in the top left there, the outline of the new structure is superimposed on the front elevation of the house to further kind of clarify the relationship between the two. Our clients are working with Elizabeth Pope to reimagine their rear garden with this new guest house for their growing family. So this landscape plan is here just to provide some context in that regard. And then these are site sections from the east and west. We are in a flood zone, so the first level of this little building is a combination of unconditioned storage, garden room space, and then the second floor is like modest guest quarters. These are our plans along with a few precedent images that I'll come back to in a moment. But if we jump to the elevations, you can see our design is a small 2-story brick structure with a standing seam copper roof, sort of a traditional cottage aesthetic. The items in question tonight are the small striped awning to protect the door on the east elevation, the use of composite shutters instead of wood, and Marvin Elevate fiberglass clad doors and windows, which are comparable to an Anderson A series window. In terms of what is visible from the street, I think you would see these 2 windows on the right and this awning here in profile. We feel like all these requests are in line with previously approved new construction and are high quality materials that will complement what we feel like is a high quality building. And Julia has some like additional propaganda she's coming. So the shutters that we would like to use are a composite material that's been used downtown on new construction before. They would have diagonal board panels with traditional sticking and hardware, and of course be operable and sized to fit each opening. In our experience, the composite shutters being made these days are well done, historic details, and can be impacted without compromising the design. This would be completely indistinguishable from wood when viewed from 93 feet away, and their use on new construction we feel should be seen as equivalent to allowing true exterior siding or clad windows and other accepted alternatives to historic materials. And these in particular that we like to use are made by the Southern Shutter Company. They also make wood shutters, and these shutters have all the same details as their wood shutters. They're put together the same way, they're just a different material. In terms of the windows and doors, we often spec Marvin Ultimate windows and doors for new construction.
among others. But the Elevate line also follows the rules of being clad wood and has SDLs and spacer bars and an appropriate narrow putty glazed mutton profiles. So practically, they are a better solution for an accessory structure that's not someone's residence, isn't being fully conditioned and does not meet the level of energy performance, options, customization, all those things that are inherent in a premium line. There is a significant difference in cost between these two, but there is not a discernible, in our opinion, difference in the exterior aesthetics when viewed from this far from the right of way. And so that second sheet is just a close-up view and a slightly further away view of what those particular windows look like. And I'll mention that the city has a windows document that indicates that fiberglass clad windows are permitted generally for new construction. And then lastly, we would like to use simple fabric awnings to provide, let me go back here, protection at the doors and a little extra visual interest. We've gathered some historic images of awnings on Charleston homes on the sheet in front of you, as well as some excerpts from the Department of the Interior's preservation brief on awnings, which highlight that they were an easy way to dress up and distinguish homes of virtually any style, and that simple shed type awnings like we're proposing are appropriate for most historic residences featuring rectilinear openings. So again, we feel like this is a thoughtful quality design that incorporates the use of brick and copper at considerable expense because we and our clients feel those are important, impactful elements. And the details we're requesting tonight will not take away from that, nor will their use be detrimental to views from the public right. Furthermore, we hope the board will consider developing a policy statement on the use of materials like true exterior siding, trim, clad windows, and composite shutters on new construction so that public and staff will have guidance on what can be approved. Despite the board's longstanding practice of allowing these, staff feels their hands are tied by language in older guidelines that lumps poor quality suburban vinyl and foam type materials with good alternatives to wood that have been used successfully in our climate as well as other historic districts. And they would be a benefit to all if these could be considered by staff in most instances, rather than always requiring a trip to the board. Thank you. Are there any questions for the applicant?
I do have one. Just on the east elevation, it calls out the awning, but it doesn't look like the awning is on there.
I think it must have been like on a no plot layer on that particular.
But there is an
sheet.
awning.
If you look here in the bottom, right on this image, this is what we're talking about right here. Any other questions for the applicant? Do you have anyone? No? Frankie, you give us any staff comments and recommendations, please?
Okay, staff only have observations. Do not have recommendations. This is sort of things that were denied by staff in a permit. We did deny a permit because the Elevate windows have some final components. And from the research we've put together, the Elevate are not comparable to the ultimate due to that material difference. It also doesn't follow, it doesn't exactly follow the window policy that the board recently approved because of that vinyl component. Staff can't approve vinyl shutters due to the principle of the authenticity of Charleston should be supported by the use of materials that are authentic in their appearance and function. And then staff did not think that the awnings were appropriate due to the visibility. And I will add for the board's information, because I know you've been seeing a lot of these sort of things and wonder why. We have been called out on a number of windows and other materials that have been approved, which is why we put together the window policy for you guys. And then basically we're trying to sort of get things vetted by the board for whether or not staff can approve them and where. So as we have had existing projects called out, and it's not necessarily ones that have been in recent term. I would say it's things that are getting completed now, so ones that were approved multiple years ago. So we're just trying to nail down some things so that we don't get calls as much.
Okay. Did you want to respond to or clarify anything raised in the stuff?
I will just say that we are not aware of there being any final components to these windows. They're fiberglass, clad, wood on the inside, fiberglass clad, and they are considered Marvin's like mid-range. The Marvin Ultimate is something we would use on somebody's new home that we're putting right at the street. That makes sense. We feel like this being 93 feet away, partially, unconditioned, that kind of distinction does not warrant the price. But we would rather see our clients go for the brick and the copper and the elements that really have an impact, regardless of how visible it is, but even and particularly in this situation. And then in terms of the shutters, I don't really understand why composite shutters would be treated differently than composite siding or true exterior or clad windows. All of those things are elements that are materials that have evolved. And so the notion that something as high maintenance as wood shutters would be required on new construction would just lead people to not put shutters on at all, which I think would be a detriment to the design.
Thank you. All right, public comment and the applicant presentation is now closed, so move into board discussion and a vote.
I've got a question. The windows, the elevated windows were not, they have vinyl components. According to the specs, they do not have vinyl components, they're fiberglass.
They're denied their downgrade from the approved.
Oh, because they're downgrade from the Ultimates, which were the original. Okay.
But they have vinyl jam liner. We had Marvin come out and do a training session for staff. They had, according to Marvin staff, they have vinyl jam liners and I can't remember what the other thing was.
Yeah, because I thought the sashes were fiberglass. The clad, aluminum clad or fiberglass, just fiberglass clad. Yeah, they might have fun. I missed that.
Didn't someone bring a section of a Marvin Elevate in here, either the last meeting or the meeting before?
Marvin Elevate. We looked at,
It was a good looking
Anderson
window.
400, I think.
Sir,
I think
it was Anderson
400.
400 series? Okay.
I was gonna say, if that was a vinyl window, and I think I was surprised.
That was brought here because it was vinyl,
But it's up there.
but it was a nice one.
Good window.
I think we need to tweak the window policy statement one more time.
I think it's this,
you didn't have any comments when I said
Yeah,
it.
they were also set out at Christmas time.
Now,
Neither of those are also allowed by the North of Line policy at all.
by the way,
By our North of Line window replacement policy. We don't allow either of those windows north of line. Which is that Anderson 400 or the Marvin Elevate.
But I think we did approve those because while it is a policy,
I thought it was just the solid vinyl that was the problematic.
I know that was the original, and when it was originally written years ago, was back then, that was intended to cover solid vinyl windows. Because I think at that time, we really weren't seeing vinyl clad, and you might help me out on that,
I mean, yeah, I don't. These things evolve, like someone said earlier, just like the elevating houses thing, like materials evolve and they get better. And if we had had these kind of materials before wood came about, nobody would say like, let's go back, let's go use wood, it falls apart. It's just not what it was 200 years ago. So I think it's for new construction in particular, especially.
Flip side of staff and the board wrote the policy. We just wrote a policy.
I wish I had
And
caught
we
that,
cannot.
because that was one of the things I wanted
wanted
to change. I wish I had caught that, it's just.
And the North of Line policy was only approved in 2022.
But isn't that a replacement on a historic building? A new building,
Well, are we in board discussion?
very important discussion.
Okay, all right, I'm gonna jump in here. I don't really have an issue with the windows. It's new construction. the building is set back a fair distance from the right of way. So it's not like someone from the public is gonna be coming up and touching it and looking at it and all. I don't think it's gonna be discernible from the right of way. That it differs. As far as the composite shutters, we allow composite trim, we allow composite siding on new construction, and I see the shutters being different. So I'm comfortable with those as well. And as far as the awning goes, I understand staff's reluctance on that because years ago, striped awning kind of got out of hand, but these right here, it's a fairly subtle color. I think they were saying. I think it's a little adds a little fun to it, and I look at canvas awnings kind of like I look at paint as being temporary. They're not long lasting, so they could be here today and gone in another few years. You know. So I'm fine with all the requests.
I'm in agreement with Bill. I'm in respect of the shutters. I think. Gilmore, you might weigh in on this. I think you're gonna have less expansion and contraction with a composite opposed to a mahogany or.
A high quality composite shutter, will last a long time. So, all of the composite ultimately, has UV issues, but they're pretty stable. They don't contract. And plastics expand and contract thermally. No, they expand and contract significantly thermally, but that's generally in a high quality construction. That's generally accounted for when they build them. I mean, I struggle with this because our policy all for a long time has been that shutters would in new
What about the
construction.
diagonal? What about the diagonal pattern?
I actually like the diagonal just because we're not dealing with a historic building. And shutters, I have no issue with the shutters because we allow, I don't see the difference between a composite siding and a shutter. Trim.
What was your?
I was just asking about the diagonal pattern. I can't go against the policy on windows. I just can't. We just did that. We just outlined that. It's just a matter of principle. I mean, we can't like to go against a policy. We literally just read. It seems like I can't. I mean, as much as, I know the Marvin elevated, but I just can't go against that policy, so. Fine with the shutters and awnings. I'm fine with the shutters and awnings. I just can't go against that. The policy we just read.
I don't have the issue of the awnings. Historic house. I think all that historic house would be appropriate.
Yeah.
But this is not the historic house, but I think on the site, I think the awnings are right. They're kind of jewelry. I'm really in new construction. My only concern about composite shutters is there are all types of composite shutters.
I know I would have liked to see a brand and a kitchen.
And some
They're not all created equal.
fine in new construction, but there are just so many levels of composite shutters. That's the only thing that gives me a little pause about it, but I think in this case, I would take the shutters forward. I would really like to see the window policy much more significantly fine-tuned was this last round, but I understand we just voted on that. And the original windows specs were appropriate windows in the new construction. And that's really why but I think it's here more affected as a little bit final. Which to me is insignificant. Windows predominantly are fiberglass windows, be very high quality windows. But I would hang my hat on the fact that it's a downgrade because originally it was the ultimate window, which I think is an approved, that's approved, right, Frank?
Yes, sir. Is there?
So I would.
It's just that they have been
inclined to
approved.
Stick with the approved window, approve the shutters. Stick with the original spec window that was approved.
What I'm hanging my hat on is that as if you're worried about precedent setting, is that this building is so far back, and it's not something that the public's gonna walk up to, be able to really see much do unless they have binoculars.
I mean,
So-
no one's gonna know the difference. Yeah. Between, except,
I do.
no one is, there's not gonna be, I think, an appropriate visual difference between the high quality SDL window in pretty much anybody's manufacturer except style. They're gonna be, high quality window is gonna be, would be acceptable. We did just approve the policy. This window is not approved in the policy, and neither are just some 400s.
I think the detailing on this window is different. I mean, the size, the sash and everything has a much smaller profile than the Ultimate. So there's definitely a
There is
difference.
a visual.
I don't know off the top of my head without looking at the spec.
But I would to the original. To the original. I mean, this was spec originally. I don't think it's appropriate.
Daryl.
I would.
That's hard from Daryl.
I know we have a lot of discussion, but I do think we probably have a majority.
The three of you versus the two of us. Again.
I mean,
Make a motion.
Okay.
Bill,
Go for it, Bill. Make a motion.
I would like to make a motion for this, you're asking for final, I believe, for final approval, submitted.
We have a motion on the floor for final approval as submitted.
do I have a second to this
Second.
motion? Thank you, Daryl. Put the motion to a vote. Fillmore,
Nay, opposed.
Becky,
No, opposed.
Bill,
Yay in favor.
Daryl.
Yeah, favor.
Chair votes the majority and the motion passes 3-4 and 2 against. Very nice.
Hey, principles are principles and it's cute.
Agenda item 1240 Broad Street. Frankie, could you give us an introduction overview of the project, please?
40 Broad Street is in French Quarter, Council District 8. It is a category 2, surcharge 8.1 in the old construction district upon the final approval for news or awnings. This is the property's location on Broad Street. And I will turn it over to the applicant.
Thank you, Frankie.
I'm Julia Martin. We've been working on this project for, it feels like about 15 years. I think it's really just 2, but we're excited. It's almost happening and finishing, and it's a transformation of what was most recently Ground Deli, just sort of a blah storefront, and so we're dramatically changing the color scheme that's already been approved by staff, and we're here now just to ask for these 2 awnings to go on the front windows. We've always appreciated how many awnings you see in the historic photographs of Broad Street and King Street and all the prominent commercial streets in Charleston. And I mean, I feel like they just really lend a sort of warmth and interest to the street, and I understand why they fell out of favor when air conditioning became prominent, but I still think it's nice to bring them back. So we found a precedent in Savannah that seemed to have a lot of the features that we really appreciate, such as being operable. See, we have some views when the awning is retracted. And it has a couple of positions it can be in, so they're, to us, pretty traditional and high quality.
and really add something to the street presence. So let's see. These are, it will be manufactured by Coastal Canvas out of Savannah. And again, it has, it attaches to this window frame up here, and then the only other attachment is this little plate which connects the bar to the awning that's to the operable frame. And we, at the sidewalk, I think we've submitted for approval for these sidewalk dining elements. Just some simple kind of Frenchy benches and a couple of tables out there, and then the striped awning fabric would sort of play along with the storefront and new building colors. I think there's really anything else I need to explain to you. These will have open sides, but will be, like I said, operable. I think that about tells the story. Any questions? Any questions? Thank you. Have anyone speak to the public? Frank, give us any staff comments and recommendations, please.
Yes, ma'am. We just had observations and one condition. Property is a category 2 in the architecture inventory, so any alterations must be approved by the board. I've got per the BAR signage policy, awning should fit over the opening it covers and not extend across the entire facade. And the proposed awning appears to be for sidewalk dining, which does have to be approved by zoning. And since the proposed is adjacent to a loading zone, sidewalk has to be at least 8 feet wide with at least 5 of unimpeded sidewalk. I asked Jason to make sure I had that right. Staff condition for approval is just that the zoning approval for sidewalk dining should be received prior to our final approval. Staff recommendation is conceptual approval with staff condition and preliminary and final by staff.
Thank you, Frankie. Julia, did you want to respond to or clarify any comments? As I mentioned before, I think the owner is taking us through the sidewalk dining approval process, so we'll follow up with him on that. Regarding the signage policy about only fitting the opening, are you just acknowledging that we do that?
Yeah, I wanted it, in case anyone asked what our policy on awnings was, I wanted to have it up there. Cool.
Nice.
There was no action for that.
Okay, thank you. I think that's it. All right, public comment in the applicant's presentation is now closed. We'll move into board discussion and a vote.
I think it's
Going back to your comment earlier of awnings. Come and go.
Yeah, come and go. I'd like to make a motion. Yeah, that's exactly. All right. Make a motion for final approval as submitted. With staff's comment regarding the sidewalk dining.
So conceptual approval with staff conditions and preliminary and final review.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, Bill. Do I have a second to Bill's motion?
A second.
Thank you. Put the motion to a vote. Fillmore, Daryl,
Yeah, in favor.
Bill,
Yeah, in favor.
Becky,
Yeah, in favor.
the chair votes to the majority and the motion passed unanimously. Question. Would this need to go back to BAR for review for any reason? BAR staff would just be the zoning.
It would just be
They
permit.
stamp it.
We just have to check off the permit. So
Agenda item 13 is 19 Ashley Avenue. Frankie, if you'll give us an introduction overview of the project.
19 Ashley is in Charleston, Council District 8. It is not surveyed, it's surveyed in 1875 in the Old District. Requesting conceptual approval for shutters and awning over front doors. This is the property's location on Ashley. And I'm going to turn this over to the applicant.
Hello. As mentioned, there's just 2 items. I might go backwards. This is a picture of the house existing. This is the rear. What we're looking to do is existing has these louver style shutters. And then we just wanted to change them out to these panel style shutters. And add this protective awning over the front door, getting a lot of water is blowing in. That's pretty much the only change on the front facade. The left side, same thing. Right now, there's one pair of shutters. We would go back with two. And then the rear currently has no shutters on the back. We would add shutters on the upstairs windows on the rear. This is kind of an AI rendition of what it would look like with the awning and the paneled shutters. And then this is just some photos of the various damage from the water getting in the front door.
So the awning's gonna brace back like that AI rendering, is that what it's doing?
If there's a preference, that means that would be perfectly fine doing it that way with the brace pack.
Is that what you were proposing, or?
Yes. And then this pediment also gets removed and then replaced with the awning.
How old is the building?
I looked at Simmons houses.
I think so.
Any other questions?
Your drawings though, don't show, your other drawings in there show a different awning than that. So is that the awning that you're going with, or are you going with the awnings that are shown in the line drawings?
You got a curved one, kind of, if you look at it from the side.
So we do have a curve on the drawing, and this was the intent. This was the intent with the brace pack.
I'm the owner and I'd be happy with either one. I just don't want water coming inside the door, but the preference of the two would be the simple one.
This being the simple one.
Any other questions for the applicant?
Do you have to take off the surround that matches the neighbor to be able to do the awning? Or you just want to stylistically?
We would prefer to take it off stylistically. I would imagine we could probably still get an awning over it, but it would be pretty jammed up and pretty tight.
Any other questions?
Yeah.
Well,
Good?
No, good.
Okay.
thank you. Do we have anyone speaking from the public? All right, Frank, can you give us any staff comments and recommendations, please?
Staff had some observations. First, the current door surround matches the other side of the duplex. House is a mirror of the other side, and any deviations from the symmetry are going to alter the architectural integrity of the structure. We are missing part of a comment, sorry. Proposed hood does not seem appropriate for the style structure. And the drawings are inconsistent with how they are showing the door hood. Some would have a bell curve, it's in precedence, some do not. Beer typically does not approve solid panel shutters above the first floor. So the staff recommendation given that is denial.
Thank you, Frankie. Did you want to respond to or clarify anything raised, any staff comments before we move into board discussion?
The only clarification would be the one with the tie backs would be the preferred awning.
I just wanted to say that having an awning is really important for just water intrusion, because it's very difficult. Even the neighbor having the same issue, the in the sister home. And so it's just gonna be a challenge just to keep the wood floors and just the integrity of the front without having some sort of protection there.
All right, public comment on the applicant's presentation is now closed. We'll move into board discussion and a vote.
It's kind of just a bad design without the awning. And it's just gonna be a repeated problem without it.
But
So,
I understand the desire
yeah,
historically to keep the door surround, but I'm not opposed to an awning.
And I do prefer the simpler one over the
I
other
agree.
one, and the other one, it looks heavy to me. The other version, and I'm not quite sure what that design's supposed to be, because in side elevation is shown as a bell shape. Front elevation, the sides are not bell shaped. You've got the photographs for inspiration photographs, I'm not quite sure what that design is supposed to be. But but if I set that design aside, I prefer the simpler one. And I think that the head above the door should be retained. I think it could easily be retained and still use the awning. Because I believe this is one of the, like, Fitzsimmons townhouses, and so it has historic significance. And it would be very easy to work around with it on. I would also like to say that should the next door neighbor decide they need an awning, it needs to match whatever, if we approve an awning, whatever's for consistency. As far as the shutters go, I don't have I understand the staff comment about the louvered shutters upstairs, because that's traditionally what was done on historic buildings, but this building is of a later date. So I think I'm okay with the panel shutters up there. The drawings have a note that the shutters on the front gained windows be bifold. I just want to make sure that they're bifold on the other sets of double windows, because those other windows don't have that same note. So and that they do need to have the appropriate hardware and be operable. Anything else?
I do have a question. I was thinking it was in the drawing, it's in your inspiration photo. And it's the door, the new front door on one side light is paneled at the bottom, on the other it's glazed at the bottom. And I was just wondering which one was.
So one
I had to note about that question, and I couldn't find it. It was in the drawings and I couldn't find it in the drawings. It was in the image.
The one that's paneled.
The one that's paneled. Okay, so it's similar to what was current.
So just thinking ahead, if we are giving any sort of conceptual approval, it'll really be based on this inspiration photo.
Yeah.
That it would need to be very specific, that awning, while maintaining the door surround, and also is that right? Paneling?
Yeah, the side lights are paneled.
I would say if we approved the awning, they would have to provide drawings of it as well.
Yeah, I think for conceptual, if we said, I think we have to be very specific in our motion. Again, this is just if we wanted to be able to go to staff after the point. How about the shutters? Anybody?
They're fine.
Bill, do you want to craft a motion?
Yes. I would say conceptual approval. With the awning style being of the one, is this a sheet?
I'm gonna say the inspiration photo.
Okay, inspiration photo. The door head is to be retained. Shutters on the double windows are all to be bifold. And did I miss anything?
So that, what do you call the doors? The window on the side of the door.
Oh, the side lights, the bottom panel of the side lights are solid. With preliminary and final review by staff.
All right, we have a motion on the floor for conceptual approval with preliminary and final review by staff with board conditions of the awning style should be as in the inspiration photo. 2, that the door head is to be retained. 3, that the shutters on all the double windows are to be bifold. And that the bottom panel of the side lights is to be solid.
Correct.
Do I have a second to Bill's motion?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Daryl. Motion to the vote. Becky?
In favor.
Fillmore?
In favor.
Bill?
Yeah, in favor.
Daryl?
You in favor?
Chair votes with the majority and the motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, agenda item 14, 135 Ashley Avenue. Frank, you have to give an introduction overview of the project.
135 Ashland is in Charleston Village, Council District 8. It is operated circa 1900 in the Old Historic District. They are requesting after the fact approved appeal of after the fact staff denial for vinyl windows. This is the property's location on Ashley. And I will turn it over to the applicant.
Good evening. This is my first time doing this. I'm not an architect or engineer. We hired somebody to change the windows because the tenants said the windows are not opening and they pose a hazard because they can't open it to escape if there is a fire or something. So we call a company. They came and said they were gonna do the change of the windows and we agreed to do it and they said they will take care of everything. They started changing the windows. They changed 12 of the windows. They didn't finish the complete change and the job was stopped because they didn't have permits. So we came here because we want to proceed with the change of the windows, but they are vinyl windows.
Are there any questions for the applicant? Is there anyone speaking from the public? Frank, you have to give us these staff comments and recommendations, please.
I just have observation that there was an after the fact permit request, which was denied by staff as the proposed windows.
Thank you, Frank. Did you want to respond to or clarify anything raised on the staff comment?
No, really.
All right, public comment and the applicant's presentation is now closed. Move into board discussion and a vote. We were just torn over vinyl jam liners, so.
This is different. I walked by there today and looked at these, and they are not just vinyl, but they are probably the lowest cost window that you could possibly come up with. They're very inexpensive, cheap windows, and they have no place in Stormville. It's unfortunate that this happens. But but I know what I'm leaning towards. Whatever goes back to replace them needs to be what was original.
Yeah, look like the ones that have been replaced, so 1/1 in the original window.
Yeah, that should be 2/2.
So the light pattern is wrong for starters, and then I think
You go out
vinyl
there.
windows, we would.
Right, staff has a list of windows they can approve.
This is really unfortunate, but I think the decision is a denial and they can work with staff on the appropriate windows.
Like to make a motion. Everybody's okay?
Yes.
Denial.
It would, yeah, be a full staff.
Uphold staff denial.
We have a motion on the floor, to uphold the staff denial. Do I have a second for Bill's motion?
I'll second.
Thank you, Fillmore, for the motion to vote. Becky,
Yay, in favor.
Daryl,
Yeah, in favor.
Bill,
Yay, in favor.
Fillmore.
Yeah, in favor.
Chair votes majority and the motion passes unanimously. So you can work with staff from this point forward. You don't have to come back to the board. Find appropriate windows. Thank you. Okay, agenda item 15 is 115 Smith Street. Frankie, if you'll give us an introduction overview of the project, please.
Okay, 115 Smith Street is in Red Cliff Road, Council District 8. Is not surveyed circa 1968. Requesting final approval for independent fiber estimate.
All right, good evening, everybody. Happy to see everybody again. I was here just several weeks ago, talking a little bit about FiberX windows, and what we failed to do is really represent what a window we think looks like, and we'll present that as well. To get into the property, you can see, I think it was built in, obviously, in the 1950s, 60s era. And you can tell in here, there are the original wooden windows. There are a few final ones that are in there, and you can see from the street as best as possible, is kind of the best pictures we could get on some of those angles. There's multiple floors involved in the project and 4 different apartment units, a total of 31 windows across the board. So we're looking to replace the windows, and you can see in detail, first floor 3 units on south facing wall, 3 units on north facing wall, 2 units on east facing wall. And getting into it, there's your street view, and you can already tell on some of the pictures, it might be a little fuzzy when we expanded the size, but you can start seeing some of the wear on those windows. There's actually quite a lot of rot. These are my technical team, Jake and Greg, my production and install project managers. They took most of these pictures and some of the measurements as well. So getting into it, you can see all the original sides, 1, 2 there, and you can see severely rotted sashes and the severely rotted jambs. Some of the wood, as you get into some of these pictures, you can even tell from a distance, that's rotted brick mold there on the top sash. Bedroom, street side, minimal damage, but the brick mold is in rough shape, bottom rail. And a considerable amount of rot on this wall. I think it's probably the dark side that doesn't get dried out with when in the humid weather. And you can see kind of the specs of the windows. We're looking for double hung, impact rated glass. Obviously, is where we want to go for the technical aspect of the area. And what we have, and Jake, a much better view than what we gave you last time. I think we had the best sample we had was a GBG, which obviously was not ever going to work for a historic. This is actually one of the exact windows that we just passed in historic Mount Pleasant, to be consistent with what they have going on. We can take the whole thing off if you really want to see it. Yeah, whatever. Oh, no. Yep. Did you want to take it out? We can take the whole thing out if you want to touch, feel, and see what it does. But very, very high quality products. Anderson FiberX is it's a 40% wood polymer. I'm sorry, 40% wood fiber, 60% polymer to hold it all together. So lasts a very long time and is supremely weather resistant and really, really good in these humid areas. And of course, the impact rated glass is extremely good for safety all around. So, and you can kind of see as we kind of get into some more of the specs, it's this particular unit is a 9 light, and we would be happy to match anything that's already there. We can adjust the grids any way that we want to, but then these are just this specific window is for 9 lights, and it's a really good view from you know, if you were looking from a distance, would it be consistent with what you would expect in a historic area? It's a very nice, clean look. Does not fade, and holds up extremely well. You can kind of see here the dampness of just where the wall is located. The wood is continuing to rot and get progressively worse, especially as you get around into the sills. It's kind of at the end of its life. There, again, continued jam rot. That picture looks a little bit brighter than what some of them are, but bottom sash and severe rot in the jams. And we just went into the specs of each unit, which are pretty much the same across the board. That's up the top level, so a little bit harder to see what we're looking at, but essentially the same condition. The windows are extremely rough. A little rot at the bottom, sash at the sill, bad glass, on the bad seal on all the glass across the board. Caulking bad, sash rot starting. Soft seal at the corners, it's extremely concerning. Bad brick mold, bad sill, missing grid on the bottom sash, upper center, and the seal on the glass is basically gone. Another view is the apartment 6 front south facing wall. Obviously gets a little bit more sunlight, so you don't necessarily see all the mold on there, but as we get into it, there's rot at the seal corners and brick mold, soft sill in the corners. Soft sill again, bottom sash rotting and absolute seal failure. Seals at glass are extremely bad. Again, another soft sash. Glass seal in poor condition. Again, soft seal at the corners. Seems to be the recurring theme. Bad sash glass, another soft seal. Again, fortified light grills. These are all units. We can have colonial pattern, too wide, too high. We can match any grill pattern that we need to have. So white interior, white exterior, traditional check rails, and color match clad wrap.
Is it a vinyl window or is it a?
There are a few vinyl windows.
What are
here.
these?
These. Oh, this is not vinyl at all. So Fibrex is
Fiberglass?
wood fiber. It's wood fiber, and it is a polymer that holds it all together.
So wood fiber. Okay.
It's that special Anderson.
Yes, it's like, it's under the 400 series is kind of what it is, right? Like we'll go Anderson A series 400 series in this one.
It would actually be. It would be above an Anderson 400.
Okay.
Because it would be a step below what you would see at a wood window Anderson dealer. It would be right under an Anderson Eagle. We don't sell wood replacements. Ours are purely Fibrex, but well above vinyl or fiberglass. So and it has the wood look to it as well. So it's it's just below what you would see with an Anderson Eagle, which is like the top tier of wood windows, at least we feel. But Fibrex is the as far as
I'm happy to bring it over too if you want.
Yeah, absolutely.
So since we're not looking at a double hung, we just had this topic earlier. And what's the jam liner? Is that, what material is that?
It's all composite. It would be the same
material across the board.
Same Fibrex.
It's what?
The Fibrex.
Fibrex with the material felt.
Vinyl component on any part of the window.
No vinyl.
Any other questions for the applicant?
No, but I would like to say thank you for bringing in a sample.
The real deal, right?
It makes it a lot easier.
I thought as much. So we had one in the warehouse. Like I said, this is one we passed through Mount Pleasant Historic, and we thought, well, how appropriate. We'll bring it, and we're being very careful. It's about $6,000. So
No, I will
Yeah,
say that
got
the
it.
double hung has double hungs have different components under look than the casement. But I get it.
Now, is this an insert or is it a whole new window unit?
It's only-
this is meant for insert.
So it doesn't have tabs. How do you screw?
Oh,
Mailing plans?
Yeah.
No, if you screw through the jam into the wood frame.
I can see.
Okay. I can take it out, and open it up if you like.
I hate to make you do that.
Really, we're here to.
you literally carried this from the parking garage. I'm like, can I help you? No.
Do you want to see it?
I do want to see it.
Right.
And by the way,
You
we're
get
still
it.
in board questions. We're not in board discussion yet. So yeah, I mean,
Please, that's why we're here.
So if they come in, by three, oh, the frame.
It is stimulating, right?
But the ones that are going there are double.
Screw holes are in here behind.
That's an awning.
I see what you're saying.
It's an awning.
10 solid pieces.
Thank you for doing that.
Yes, absolutely, my pleasure.
I've got a number of them. And I said, throw them in the trash can. Pull them out, they don't play.
any other questions for the applicant? Is there anyone speaking for the public? Nobody?
So this is Bill Turner.
The other Bill
Also,
Turner.
all the other Bill Turner?
I tossed out my joke last time. I'll hold back on that one.
So you only get one.
Exactly. I'll give it a shot at it. I just want to say appreciate the consideration of this window. I was with Greg when he inspected all 30 plus of them. Even held the window, the ladder for him as a guy. So we looked at each and every window condition of each one. Poked it, with a knife and a screwdriver to see what the condition. I didn't realize how bad of condition many of these windows are in, and most of them in my unit. I'm under by unit number 1. So we would appreciate consideration, and if you have any questions, we're here to answer. Thank you very much.
This is a replacement of every window in.
Yes, I think we have.
Or
I think we have, there's one unit.
Just one unit that declined to go through the
That
process.
opted out, which is number 5, but this would cover, let's see, 1, 2, 4, 6.
Correct,
So
yeah.
it's 4 of the 6 units that it would cover.
Frankie, will give us any staff comments and recommendations, please?
We just have observations, could not be approved by staff due to the components. Also, staff cannot approve wholesale replacement of windows. The existing windows appear to be wood true divided light, proposed for a composite thermoplastic. Staff is concerned about the quality of the product and its appropriateness for the Old Minnesota district. And with the documentation submitted, we were unable to determine if the seams were visible, the corner miter, and the appearance of any jam liner. I don't think that was supposed to say staff denial, because this was originally appeal of a staff decision.
Okay. Did you want to respond to or clarify anything raised in the staff comments before we move into board discussion about?
Ultimately, the quality is very high end. It's kind of a Cadillac of non-pure wood windows. So, and we have been installing in the area since, we've been open since last March and installing since June with really great feedback on the durability of the windows. And the Fibrex, again, does not rot, does not, warp and heat, holds up extremely well in weather and humid environments. It's very popular also in Florida, where the windows are truly put to the test. I had the good pleasure of beating some of our glass with baseball bats to prove a point. And
Did you bring baseball bats?
I did not bring one today.
This was.
We actually had one that was ordered in wrong size, so we let our sales team have have a bit of fun and also to truly help them understand the durability of our product. And we beat the tar out of these, it was a same product, but in a patio door. And we couldn't poke a hole in it. And we hit these things repeatedly with aluminum bats. And it was pretty impressive actually and fun. I think you'll find that the durability is very, very good. And the visibility from the street, I think you'll find will really be impressive from what you can see from the ground.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Public comment and the applicant's presentation is now closed. So I'm moving to board discussion and a vote.
There's a little light trespassing on this one. I actually went out there, took a look around. And the ones that I could get up close enough to see, they all look like they're pretty rough condition. So I don't doubt that they need to be replaced. I think whatever goes back, since some of the units are not being replaced, I think it's important to go back to the same light pattern, the 4/4. Since the windows that are not being replaced are white, go back to the white again. I think it's a pretty good quality window, so I don't have any issue at all with the quality. And then given the age of the building and the simplicity of the building, it's not a very, very historic building, not my style building. So I think I don't have any issue with a non-wood.
So, I think, and Travis. The staff observations that they have vinyl components and that the windows are a composite thermoplastic, which is synonymous with vinyl.
Well, the vinyl on that was a question mark. Then we did some research into it and corrected it from thermoplastic. I just apparently didn't erase vinyl.
So there's no vinyl components.
There are plastic components, so which is different product technically than vinyl. We were basically trying not to write a recommendation on this one since it was an appeal of staff. But it was not something that we had been able to approve. Now, part of this is you guys determining if this is an appropriate product for this age of the building.
I think for the age of the building.
And the style of the building is what I'm looking at as well, that maybe we wouldn't approve this on a different building. But
Right, this is very different from the application we just saw.
Exactly.
Right.
Good point.
Yeah,
Good way of putting it.
so,
I think that probably in this building and its age, its design, that a non-wood window is an appropriate placement. So then the question is this an appropriate window? There seems to be we have a lot of confusion about windows right now. I mean, I personally think.
It's almost like it's a case by case.
Yeah.
I mean, the guidelines,
feeling.
I mean, I like the policy, but,
I mean, I just, honestly, when we were.
The policy is also to allow staff to approve some windows without having to come to you.
right.
Which does actually, believe it or not, does give us a good bit of flexibility on approving windows.
Okay, that's good.
The window situation at the moment is exploding. You are only seeing a small fraction of
I
it.
bet.
So the policy has taken a lot of that away from, and allowed us to approve things.
That's great.
But there are things like this that, okay, this is a product that it's a new product. So it's this is sort of a vetting process also. You guys can determine if this window, while not following the policy, is appropriate due to the age of the structure, the style of the structure.
Yeah.
So
Right, I think the age and the style.
And there's some windows that are specifically.
correct.
So I think, and that I would be okay setting a precedent here of allowing this, this is not one where I'm I don't want to set a precedent. I think we could set a precedent
I
here.
think it's just appropriate for this.
Yeah,
particular
is
building.
this, not this particular window, because this is not a new construction window.
Right, replacement.
So, you know, but Anderson probably makes a new construction window that's very similar to this.
Oh, probably, yeah.
So then we get that, it's an appropriate window that we would allow new construction. For me, that's kind of where if it's okay, if it's an okay window for the historic district, I think it's, you know, new construction, then I think this is more related to new construction than feel like it was either one of them. So I think it's probably fine. I don't have a pretty good window, you know, the seams look tight, there's no miters. So,
Does not look like a cheap window.
you know, it's okay.
I assure you, that's
You
not,
know,
I'll feel free to take that.
We appreciate
I
it.
just don't have any, you know, background for the concept of the quality.
Fiber X by May has been around since about 1994, I think is when the renewal brand came out as part of Anderson. The warranties are very, very strong and supported as well. Anderson, of course, as you well know, has been around for over 100 years. So.
Sounds like we do have some
Always
consensus on
the
a very
jams. It's always the jams that scare me.
with some.
Yeah,
Be good, make me mad.
Bill, did you want to make a motion to overturn the staff
Yeah,
denial?
exactly that.
And did you want to have a board condition?
That the light
Light-
cut match the existing 4/4 pattern in the building and the color be white.
Do you want to just say that that it matches all existing? Because I think there were some different.
No,
Wasn't there one that was-
there's some like cheap replacement vinyl windows scattered through there, which I think are like maybe 6/6 or something.
Oh, so, okay.
So,
So then okay.
yeah,
That all
Match-
match, original 4/4.
Yeah.
We can do that.
Oh, and, that they're white.
Yeah.
To match, yeah. Okay, we have a motion on the floor, to overturn the staff denial with some board conditions that the light cuts, match the original 4/4 and all the windows are white at the, original. Do you have a second to Bill's motion?
I'll second.
Thank you. All right. Motion to a vote. Becky,
Yeah, in favor.
Daryl,
You in favor?
Bill,
yeah, in favor.
Fillmore.
Yeah.
The chair votes the majority and the motion passed unanimously. Thank you. What is this update to the architecture? Okay. How long? Very quick. All right, we got one more.
Give that.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Just in time.
This will be very quick. So, as you all know, we have multiple architecture inventories. We have the Lower Peninsula, we have part in the middle of the peninsula, and we have north of Line. Through grant money and other funding sources, we have an update to the architecture inventory. Now, this portion we're looking at right now is south of Line Street. We went too far, go back. Thank you. There is a full presentation that they have done that will be available on our website, on one of our VA area universities. But we have updated the inventory.
Wow.
And it is south of Line Street. Yes, south of Line Street, properties from the 1750s to 1970s. We should not have, fingers crossed, any unsurveyed buildings that are 50 years old south of Line Street, thanks to this update. They've identified National Register or potential National Register properties. They've identified categories 1, 2, 3, 4. They have some recommendations for us that include expanding our district boundaries, existing district boundaries, and the National Register district boundaries. More recommendations they've got have to do with how frequently we update these surveys. This area hasn't been updated since 1984. So we're way out of date. And they're also recommending we continue with area character appraisals. In order to get this document approved, it has to get approval for you guys, from you guys, for review by city council. It will then go through, I can't remember what the committee is, and then it would have to get approved by council for us to use it as a document. But right now it is just before you guys, to be approved, to be reviewed by council.
I have a question. Is there like, unlike policies where we could review and make changes, like the architectural inventory?
It's either you accept it or approve it, or you do not.
We don't like, oh, don't want that house on the inventory. I guess I'm just asking, so I don't.
Like, we
tonight
don't
we just had a
review the
conversation. Oh, we, yeah, we
Right,
wish we reviewed the
it
policy.
is in the
more closely.
Dropbox if you want to see it, but,
We can't make any changes.
it's
Not, I'm
sort
not
of a,
suggesting I want.
we have hired consultants, these are the recommendations they have made.
Okay.
Okay.
I will make a motion to approve for review by city council.
A second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hearing none opposed, the motion passes unanimously. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
None opposed, motion passes.